No.
No.
So
Great.
Patch does. Okay, good. So Patch.
Great? No.
My Babe Ruth might sound a little bit like Hank Hill.
Oh my gosh. Then I'll do it. I'll do it. Oh, I'm embarrassed.
Heroes get remembered, but legends never die.
Remembered. Legends never die. Okay. Something like that. Thank you, Paul.
Well,
Thumbs up if you're ready to go. I'm going to keep talking like this so I don't lose
really
the...
Are you...
Yeah, pretty much.
Very
That's what I'm going for.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
You
Thumbs
lack
up. Are you
discipline.
ready? Patch, I'm not sure because you're not giving me a thumbs up.
Hello, Commissioner
Okay.
Gordon.
You know what, Paul? Whatever with that. You're going to make me lose the accents.
Paul's
Then
been
wouldn't
cooking
you
tonight?
be sorry?
just
Not
got
the 80s, sorry.
I just got a notification saying Retro Rewind is going live.
Well, that's good
Yeah.
because
Very
we
good.
are going live, indeed. Thank you, Ashley. All right, in 5, 4,
Hi, Ashley.
3, 2,
Hello,
I,
Dale.
Dale.
Dale,
Stacy.
Stacy.
And
Remember, kid. Dang it, I hit the desk. Edna mode. Well, not really. Remember, kid. No laughing!
Uh-huh. How about
Of course
crying?
not.
Remember, kid. There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered, but legends you can listen to on this episode of the Retro Rewind podcast.
Reflux capacitor fluxing. Crew to stations. Scanning for the SANDLOT 1993. Prepare to rewind in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, rewinders and new listeners, to the Retro Rewind podcast, where we take a fresh look at movies and games from 15 or more years ago. I'm your captain of the pod, Francisco Ruiz, and I'm joined by your XO and mine, Paul, the master home run hitter interrupter powers.
Woo. Yeah, I'm ready to play ball. Let's go.
Sweet. Also, for this discussion of the film The Sandlot, we welcome back aboard ship's entertainer, Daryl Hafner. Welcome back, Daryl.
How's it going, everybody?
Going quite well.
So
And on third base, something baseball, in addition to being...
Who?
We're also glad to have back aboard Feelings Officer Patrick Patch Hicks. Hey, Patch.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be here. That's not my real accent, but I might just keep doing it until I get tired.
That'd
Actually, I
be
do that.
amazing.
It
Now
would
that
be,
you have a
wouldn't it?
quick flyby of who we are, Paul, can you give us a quick overview of the production specs for The Sandlot in whatever accent you would like?
Okay. The Sandlot was released April 7th, 1993, and it runs an hour and 41 minutes. How do you like my accent so far? It's rated PG. It's directed by David Mickey Evans. It was written by David Mickey Evans and Robert Gunter. The lead stars being Tom Greery, Mike Vitar, and Art LaFleur. And the music was composed by David Newman. You ready for the box office trivia?
I am ready. Patch and Daryl, are you ready?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And everyone here live is welcome to guess as well. Go for it, Paul.
All right, The Sandlot was made for 98 cents and hit a pop fly to center left field at the box office. Just kidding. It was, it was made for about $7 million and earned about $34 million in the box office.
Well done, Sandlot.
So given this and the fact that it was released theatrically in 1993, how high in the box office do you think it ranks among the movies that was released in 1993? We'll go for the top 50.
Top 50. All right, let's start with Daryl. What's your guess?
I'm trying to think what else came out around that. Isn't Jurassic Park? I was gonna say, is Jurassic Park in there too?
Somewhere in there.
So number one then, right? For Sandlot?
Oh yeah. No. I'll say right in the middle at 25.
25. How about you, Patch? What's your guess?
I'm going to be a little bit more generous and say 18. My favorite number, 18.
Dun, dun, dun. Let's see. In chat, Dale guesses 25. Ashley guesses 35. Stacey guesses 50. I'm going to go in between Daryl and Patch and go with 22. And no choking in baseball, Daryl. Do we need to stop?
Okay.
All right, so 22 for me. And no more guesses in chat. Paul, where did it end up being?
Well, Stacy hit a home run with 50.
Whoa, good
Oh,
job,
really?
Stacy.
Yeah, I
Just
was
on the
surprised.
outskirts. So yeah.
Jeez.
I would've
So is that like
definitely
a bunt or is that a home run?
Well,
Squeeze.
she made it
Squeeze.
around. She did a good job.
Suicide squeeze. It was a suicide squeeze.
Suicide squeeze. Okay. Well, like I know what that means. Thank you for those factoids, Paul. And let's see if any of them factor into our memory mind meld or subsequent roundtable discussion, which we'll get into once Alice is located. Our target film. Located, Alice!
Alert! Alert! Approaching target. Spoilers incoming. Establishing analysis vector.
One of them might become a legend. I don't know. I don't really remember that so
I could
well.
have done a voiceover for that if you wanted to.
Yeah, that was a silent film, right?
That was
I don't know why you guys couldn't hear it. I could hear it fine, and I was seeing the thing go for it, so I don't know what the deal was. But regardless, no sound on that side too. Great. Well, I'll have to do it later in post, then whatever.
What is this, an Edna mode or something?
Fall.
The power of live theater.
Count that for one, folks, if not more.
That's just one. That counts as one. Yeah, I'm not sure why that wasn't working for you guys. Because usually it does work.
because I hijacked it.
Thanks, Patch.
I pulled the audio card.
You whatever. Give me back my creative. Okay. Okay. So yeah, we may have some memories that are legendary, perhaps, about the Sandlot. But to give you some context for the things we collectively were starting over that. And the
Yay,
two,
another
whatever.
one. Woohoo!
Yes, there may have been some legendary memories, you might say, or maybe not. Maybe we don't remember much. But let's find out what we do collectively remember about the Sandlot. Here is your memory mind meld synopsis for this film. Gwen Stacy's dad, makes his son move to a new town with Indiana Jones's girlfriend. Oh my gosh. The boy with the hat bill a mile long wants to play baseball in the Sandlot with other neighborhood boys. Hijinks with the team, including a neighbor's giant monster dog throwing up at the fair, trying to make out with the older lifeguard, and night games with fireworks. Big Bill the kid loses his home run ball and then tells everyone it's no big deal because the ball was just signed by this woman named Babe Ruth. Plus, the kids even meet Darth Vader, who has not learned how to use the Force to cure his own blindness. Heroes become legends, and if you can't play the game, become a sports announcer. Oh, some of it was on the money ball, but some of it was deceptive. But based on those memories as so flawed as they were, what range did they lead you to predict for this film before rewatching it? Classic, nostalgic, or tragic? Gonna start with Patch first this time. What was your prediction for The Sandlot?
I picked classic.
Classic. All right. Daryl, how about yourself?
Same, classic.
Okay. Paul, how about you?
Nostalgic.
Okay.
Nostalgic.
I am toe-to-toe. I don't know if that would be the right idiom. I'm right alongside my EXO here. I also predicted nostalgic for The Sandlot.
Does that count as 3 or 4? You're going to keep all this in? I doubt it. I hope you don't. If you want to keep going, we can.
Oh my gosh. Paul,
He's
if it's
rounding
just-
second.
If it's just a pause, I don't count that as an end
You're
mode.
gonna end that long of a
I'm
pause,
missing
though.
now in end mode because I'm trying to go fast here. I'm trying to go fast.
Yeah, and then you're gonna leave these long pauses in the
I don't. I
podcast.
do my best not to leave the long pauses
Oh,
in.
your best.
But if it's not going to be something that ends up in the outtakes, I don't count it as an Edna
Oh,
mode.
there's a new rule for Edna modes. Okay.
It'll be interesting to see if those predictions come true. But first, let's get into our discussion of the things we liked most about The Sandlot. Let's spin up our
Best 3.
best 3 things. Let's start with Patch. I was going to say Paul, but I decided to go with Patch apparently. Patch, what's one thing you liked about The Sandlot? Paul Atch, yes.
Paul Atch. Well, first and foremost, it is about baseball. So I'm a purist. As of this recording, I'm a huge Atlanta Braves fan. That's not as of this recording. That's been a long time. But one of the big first baseman, like hometown heroes, Freddie Freeman, has just been traded away or signed away to become an LA Dodger, which disappoints me. We wanted to keep him. But that came on the heels of Atlanta winning their first World Series since, the 90s. And, for me, watching The Sandlot just reminds me of how good the game of baseball can be at its purest form without strikes and without, strikes in baseball are good, but strikes outside of baseball that
You mean
affect
like
the game.
Like when players go on strike? That kind of
player
thing?
strikes, not
Okay.
necessarily baseball strikes. A different
Okay.
Hit when I
baseball
get
strike.
struck out. Gee.
Yeah, just the kids going out and just playing. They don't care about all
the purity of the
Yeah.
game, and it was on full display here. Everything about The Sandlot from start to finish, it was about playing the game. Never any mention of big contracts, never any mention of anything that was related to the business side of it. And so, when I get pessimistic about a really long season, and I do mean it, I love baseball, but it's way too long. I go back to The Sandlot and its story, and I go, look, if you want a baseball story, this is where you need to start right here.
You know
so,
what?
yeah.
I totally know what you mean, Patch. I mean,
here
dogs chasing players, so pure to the game of baseball.
Shut it, Francisco. Can I get some love in the stream?
Sorry.
To defend
I'm
me?
just,
Oh, yeah.
I'm just busting your baseballs over here.
I was gonna say, have you never played baseball with
You're
a
out.
dog in the yard? That is so accurate.
Yeah,
Are you
it's true.
kidding me?
Yeah.
I have not. Daryl, what's something you liked? Was it the dog in the baseball yard or something else?
There's a few things, but I'll just say, kind of along that line a little bit, was just throughout the movie, the kids' friendship and just the way they interacted with each other. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
obviously at the very beginning they were a little standoffish to Smalls, but as soon as he was accepted into the group, he was in the group.
Yeah.
Like he was invited to their overnight camp out, like within a week, whatever. They were working with him to get the ball back, and just that friendship that the whole group of them had.
Absolutely.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. That was a cool ensemble of all the kids. They all seem to have a place in the Sandlot.
Yeah.
The whole lot of them. Paul, what was something you enjoyed? Was it the group of kids? Something else?
I thought it was pretty inventive, the different ways that they were trying to get the ball out. I'm like, that's kind of cool. I mean, it did go on for a little bit long, but just the different ways were creative, I thought.
Okay. Yeah. I could totally see that. And that whole sequence sort of led into one of the parts of the film that I really enjoyed was James Earl Jones's character. I actually don't recall what his name was. This is only the second time I've seen The Sandlot. So do any of you recall what his character's name is?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay,
no.
so Darth
Myrtle.
Vader
It was
in The
Myrtle.
Sandlot.
It was Myrtle. Mr.
Myrtle. Oh, Mr.
Yeah.
Myrtle. That's right.
Yeah.
I really liked how at his stage of life, he cared so much more about the relationships and like getting to have people like he said, come over every week to talk baseball with me. Like he had like probably thousands of dollars, if not more, worth of memorabilia in his place. But that doesn't matter as much as actual connection and having people to talk to and have friendships with. So I really appreciate that about his character and that we got to see some of that with him. Let's go back. Let's go to Daryl again. What was something else you liked about this film?
Well, we didn't see much of him. I kind of liked at least in the early movie, that odd, I'll call it odd relationship between Smalls and the stepdad. Like to me, I mean, I don't have a stepfather, but to me that relationship felt realistic.
Yeah. I could totally see that. Yes.
Like just like they're still, as I think they put it in the movie, they were still kind of feeling each other out.
Yeah.
Whatever, but just like do I call him Dad? Do I call him Bill? Do I just like? And I mean
baseball when he's not looking.
Yeah, but
just signed by some lady. Who cares?
But yeah, no, I mean, like you could tell that Bill wanted to care. He was there, or was trying to be. I don't know how to put it, but this is also on the other side of my sheet too, kind of.
Yeah, you know what? I have the same sentiments about that.
But I thought the early relationship where he's like just the interactions and stuff to me felt authentic.
Yeah,
like a father stepson.
Authentically awkward.
Yes, exactly. Paul, what was something that wasn't actually very awkward about this movie for you? In fact, you liked it.
Really enjoyed the early 60s music and product references like everywhere, like the cars and everywhere you look. It was just very cool. It was a cool time to go back to, it looked like.
Okay, nice. So if Back to the Future was to go to another time period, you would have wanted to be the Sandlot.
Sure.
Oh, could I have that movie?
The Sandlot's not a time period.
Where I'm talking right now, Patch. Could I have this where Marty and Doc, like just the DeLorean just like charges into the Sandlot and they open up, guys, we gotta go back in time. Your future's at stake. Benny, if you want to be a baseball player, we gotta go back. Where, Doc? Back to the past. Because I just said that.
This is why Francisco's a podcaster here.
Oh my God. All right, Patch, fine. Fellow podcaster. What something else you liked about The Sandlot without Back to the Future in it?
Well, first of all, Back to the Future is perfect as is. It doesn't need to be in anything else necessarily. So I'll just
No. See, that's why it needs to be in other things to add perfection to them. Because yes, it is perfect.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine by itself, as you will notice in our 300th episode on the Feel and Film podcast at feelandfilm.com.
Nice.
All right. Anyway, well, I think. Well, I think for me, in the same vein as the baseball reference, I love summer. I love this season. There's a really cool thing when you're able to actually depict a season in a way that feels very kid-like.
Yeah.
And I think what the movie did so well was it really gave us a kid perspective, as opposed to just like, this is summer in the suburbs. No, this is summer to a kid. And in particular, I love the 4th of July scene where the only night game that you can have at the Sandlot is in the 4th of July, because they're in this small town that's not covered with lights.
Yeah.
That you don't have all this light pollution. You can actually see the ball. And I get that that's probably not realistic in some towns on the West Coast that are surrounded by lights and cities.
No, I was thinking it's not realistic because the game only lasts a few minutes.
Yeah, because the fireworks are not going to be going all night like that.
But I will say this about that, in the fact that when you talk about a movie that is depicting summer, it's not an accurate portrayal. It's a kid's perspective. And for a kid like me growing up in the 1980s, the summer nights lasted until like 12:30. Like I felt like the sun stayed out so long because we were always outside. We were running up and down the street, racing our bikes and all these different things. And I thought that this movie, in particular, the scene right before they go to the pool, Yeah, I live in Arkansas, and it gets butt hot in the summer where
Yeah.
you feel like you're going to just tear your face off because it's so hot.
Yeah.
And you want to go inside with air conditioning and stuff like that. So there's this really great depiction of what summer for a kid feels like, especially in an American town, and in particular in the suburbs. So I thought that was really great.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say my next before we get to our class makers, that dovetails really well into that passion. I thought this movie was, it almost, the cinematography for it was almost felt like a grown-ups movie, and I'll try to elaborate that. Like so many kids movies, there's a quality to them that feels very kid-ish. I wish I had a better vocabulary to describe that, but this movie felt like it was shot like a very legitimate, very authentic movie. Like it was very cinematic. A lot of the wide shots were great. I just really liked what they did in terms of shot composition and lighting, and how, except for the fireworks, which were you could tell they took a 4x3, they squished it, and then they superimposed it back. You see sparks coming over the house. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Whatever, it's 1993. Okay, fine. But
I think we hit a nerve or a spark.
Yeah, don't
maybe.
mess with.
Sounds like it.
I'm gonna
Sounds like it.
step away from the mic for a minute here.
Regardless, though, but the whole movie in general, I thought was shot very well. So
I think I know what you mean. It's not playing like it's to like Nick Jr. or something.
yeah,
but it's
or
more
like a Disney Channel movie type thing, where it's just shot very like lots of close-ups, lots of like we want to make sure everyone gets the exact same coverage. Yeah,
I think it's almost shot to remind the adults of what it was like to be a kid. Like it's
I could see
for
that.
adults in that aspect. It's like
yeah, I could
to
see
bring
that.
them back to their childhood.
And now let's bring the podcast to our classic makers, the things we loved most about The Sandlot. All right, Paul, go ahead.
The thing I love most about The Sandlot is the cast. I really enjoyed the kids, and each one of them was very different, and I that's why I like to watch this movie, is for the kids, to see them play around.
Well, for me in particular, I'll just go to my classmaker since it's related. I loved Benny, how Benny included Smalls into the game. I think you were saying that earlier, Daryl, how they related, or that he came in pretty early and they accepted him. But I love that Benny was sort of the catalyst for that, because he was sort of the leader of the group. He didn't have to use that. He was the leader of the group.
And he was the catalyst. And he kept pushing, and he was the big pusher.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so he I don't know what it was. He didn't have to be as kind to Smalls as he was, but he decided to be that. He decided to really, try to bring him in, try to have the other guys see that he was worthwhile. And I just really appreciated that, because he didn't have to exercise his, kid power, I guess, in that way, but he did. And I thought that was just really, really admirable. So I love that. That was my classic maker.
As Francisco completely steals mine.
Nice.
Sorry, Daryl.
No, Benny was definitely my favorite. I can change it, but
no,
because
go
I have
for
a couple others, but
add on.
But no, I loved the fact that Benny, the cool kid, the best one, was the one to reach out. And in so many movies, that character is the one that's like the last one to accept the new kid. Like you gotta prove yourself to the leader. You got to prove yourself to the ace player before he'll let you in. And in this, he's the one like giving him the glove, giving him the hat, and it's like he didn't use his kid power to be a jerk.
Exactly.
He used it to reach out to that kid that nobody else in the group would have reached out to. If Benny hadn't done it.
While we're talking about Benny, who had when he grew up, he got nicknamed the Jet. Did you ever think that was like weird? Like Benny and the Jets is like two.
It's probably a play on words.
Benny and the Jets.
Okay.
No.
So it's supposed to be coincidental, or anyway?
No, I think Paul, I think it's a play on words, just like with with Ham, the great Hambino. I mean, there's pop culture references, I think, in a lot of those nicknames that you're just latching into. Yeah.
So
I mean, it's
Is he
fitting
an
because he's
actual-
fast.
Is he an actual baseball player?
no, Hambino and the Jet.
No, the Benny Jet. Benny
no,
and the Jets.
Rodriguez.
no, he's
No.
not.
Oh, really? This was
Really?
Oh.
This isn't a documentary, Francisco. It's not a biopic either. Sorry.
That would be
Well,
my
I-
tragic maker if it was.
No, that
That's
was
terrible.
I was gonna say that's the rookie. We reviewed that one. Thanks. to
Yeah,
you.
that
Yeah,
was
that's
a
true.
biopic.
Yeah, that okay. All right. Fair. Okay. I'm getting things confused, guys.
No.
Let's see. So that was before we get to Patch's classmaker, I'll just put this one in real quick. Dale says, seeing James Earl Jones is my classic maker. When the door opens and it's him, it was awesome. And that's pretty cool that they in the story, the black and white story, it's not James Earl Jones, it's someone else. So it's cool to you actually find out the real Mr. Myrtle is played by Mufasa himself. But,
Baseball, Ray.
exactly.
Sorry.
Patch,
I'm not
what was the thing you loved most about The Sandlot?
So, I mean, I think we're all in agreement that the cast is really great. And
Yeah.
when you have an ensemble cast,
I wouldn't go that far.
I would let him speak.
part of the cast is great for all of us. How about that? Let's
All right.
I'll be the
Here,
diplomat here.
Here.
But I think with any ensemble cast, you've got such a great variety. And obviously the script is really well done. It definitely is a kid centric script, lots of great lines all around. But if I had a classic maker, it would be the one guy in the cast that probably has the best lines or the ones that stand out the most. And that's Hamilton, the great Hambino Porter.
Yes.
I mean, along with You're Killing Me Smalls, which I think everybody says, or
Yeah.
most people, except like two in the entire world. But he has such great comebacks, especially during that sort of mock game or that rivalry match with the professional little league team. You know,
Yes.
if my dog was as ugly as you, I'd shave his butt and tell him to walk backward. That's a great one. And then when he's behind the plate, this is what you would think a catcher would do, just distracting.
Yes,
Like,
yes. That
hurry
was
up, batter. It's going to be a short game. Then I got to get home for lunch. And is that your sister out there in the left field? Naked? Naked? Just things like that. It's just completely juvenile and completely accurate for that level of sportsmanship. Like, it's all about the trash talk. And it doesn't get
play
so
ball like a girl.
there you go. It's just a lot of great dialogue that doesn't get really, to me, overblown. Like, it doesn't feel like it gets worn out. It's timed really well. And I think if you had more of the kids doing that, it would really feel like it's just way too much of writing jokes. And this feels like you have that one guy in the group that's going to be the dude that's going to come back, and he has no
Jeff Bridges is in this?
No, but I know growing up, there are different people I would hang around with. There was always that one person that was always the trash talker more than someone else.
Yeah.
It made it
he's
feel
the equivalent of a
authentic.
hype man in a probably a hip hop group. Like there we go. Yeah, he's going to be the trash talker.
Yes.
So yeah, that was my
Count on
classic
it, pee drinking crap face.
killer.
Oh my
So good.
goodness. Awesome, guys. Well, I guess it's time to get to some why? I should read my notes beforehand, guys. I don't know why I don't just it'd be easy. I just scan. Oh, these are my likes. So sorry I forgot about this. But there's something else I would like. Stunning and Brave. Each week, hosts Chris Cowan of the Babylon Bee and Nate Henderson of some boring budgeting job confess their privilege, spotlight stunning social media posts, and fabricate outrage, all while keeping you super woke and enlightened. They will make you laugh. That's right, you have no choice. Check out Stunning and Brave at stunningandbrave.net.
That's great, Francisco. Well, what does Stunning and Brave have to do with the Sandlot?
Well, so I guess the one girl, Pickle Pavarotti, whatever her name was the lifeguard. I forget her name. It's something like that.
Wendy Peppercorn.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, Wendy. Her name's not Pickle.
Pickle, Pepper, Piper, Crack Corn. I don't care. Her name, whatever her name was, she was, I guess, stunning to the kids, and it was brave of that one, glasses guy to go up and fake drown to kiss her. So stunning and brave, Paul.
Wow, that's quite the tie-in.
I suppose you might like some trivia tie-in. Is that more what you
Yeah,
want?
something a little closer to the film. That would be cool.
All right, sorry. Can't do a home run every time. Anyway, did you all realize that writer and director David Evans is the narrator of the film? Now, I don't really care for his narration, feeling like he was trying to sound too much like Daniel Stern from Wonder Years. I feel like he's just trying to totally inflect that way. But my question to you guys is, if you could have anyone else narrate this movie, who would you have picked? You can pick any great voice
Tommy
narration.
Lasorda. He was
That's a baseball person, right?
he was the announcer for decades for the Dodgers.
Oh, really? Oh, okay, cool. Okay, Tommy Lasorda from Paul. How about you, Patch?
Wait a minute. Go ahead. That's not who I'm thinking of.
Let me think.
Tommy Lasorda is the manager.
No, Tommy Lasorda was the manager of
Yeah,
the
he's
Los
not.
Angeles Dodgers.
Yeah, that's sorry. I'm getting my Dodgers mixed up.
Come back to me because I have
Jim
a couple I'm gonna try
Carrey,
to pick.
the
Yeah.
manager of the Houston Rockets.
No, Vince Scully is who I was thinking of.
Oh, Vince.
Yeah,
okay.
that's who I was gonna say was Vince Scully. He is
Oh, really?
fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he would have been good.
How about you, Daryl?
I'm trying to remember his name. It was an old Tigers announcer. So
Tony the Tiger?
He's
great.
No, they've actually got a statue for him up at Comerica Park, which is a Tigers stadium.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a long time announcer.
Mario and Babella.
No.
Is it Dan Dickerson?
Ernie Harwell.
Yes.
That's who it is. Ernie
Oh,
Harwell.
okay.
Ernie Harwell.
Yeah, Bernie Darwell. I loved him.
Ernie Harwell. Yes. Yeah,
Cool,
Ernie
okay.
Harwell. He was an announcer for the Tigers for a long time. Like, he passed away.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, he I mean, it's been several years now.
All the
Oh,
good
okay.
ones
But like
do.
he was like he I don't know if he actually retired out or if he did. It was like only a couple years before he passed. Like he did it for years.
Wow, crazy.
Like he did the Tigers announcing, and
Mhm.
so just to hear a baseball voice. But I mean, like what is it? He's my hometown guy. So
Oh, so you're biased.
Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
There's a little bias in there. But
No
he was
worries.
always
Okay.
good.
Oh,
Bob Uecker
cool.
comes to mind too. He's a good baseball announcer.
Bob,
he calls for
Bob Kirk?
Bob Uecker. Bob
Oh, okay.
Uecker.
Bob Kirk, like Star Trek. That guy?
Sure. Francisco.
So,
yeah.
Francisco, since you don't know who any of these people are, who would you
Ooh,
pick?
Kevin Costner. Yeah, I love that, Stacey. Yeah. Kevin Costner's up there for me. Yeah.
Kevin Costner, sure. I mean, so
With
when
this
all
English accent?
when all fails, I sort of go by my own goal stand by Morgan Freeman.
It might have been interesting to have James Earl Jones do the narration,
Oh,
Yeah,
that would
would've
have
been
been
interesting.
and then have him still be that character.
Right.
Have the
think that
story
would be
told
good.
from his point of view.
Yeah,
right,
that's cool.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like I mean,
It
it wouldn't
makes-
quite work only because he's blind, but to have like the kids playing in his yard and he just enjoying it.
He could
like, as the-
reiterate the stories that they would tell him, but I imagine like they gave it a pass because how would you not with him there? You know, it's like, hey, let's try this out. But
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you think? Yeah, the good point, but I don't know why. But yeah, so the director's voice just didn't work for me for whatever reason. Regardless, though, thanks guys for answering that trivia.
yeah, the great trivia, Francisco.
Thank
and
you.
now that we have
Welcome
all
to
had
the
some
Sandlot.
trivial
My
fun
name's Morgan Freeman.
Exactly.
with Morgan Freeman, let's find out what memories you, our awesome rewinders, had about the Sandlot.
All right. Squid says, pretending to drown is a surefire way to find yourself a mate. And it was in the greatest summer of my life that he taught me how to play baseball.
Drew of the Cellcast says, forever. Also, this was the first time I'd ever heard the song Tequila. Oh, not a Pee Wee Herman. fan.
Yeah, right. Star Fox says, the smooth idea on how to kiss the lifeguard, how Benny takes the new kid under his wing, and James Earl Jones was great in this film.
Sorry. Just the whole you're talking the smooth idea of how to kiss a lifeguard. No, it's not a smooth idea, kids. That's very not the way to do things. I was about to say, especially in today's culture, you're
right.
Yeah. Anyway, someone's gonna call rape. Anyway, Ashley Kronbitter says, I mostly remember the line, "You're killing me, Smalls," and not much else. Kids play baseball in an empty lot. There's a scary big dog, and James Earl Jones is there too. Wow, she did remember a lot. She goes on to say, I'd rather watch Angels in the Outfield or Rookie of the Year. You might want to as well. Ooh.
And Bobo ends this with, I remember thinking the deal J-E-J.
James Earl
Oh,
Jones.
geez. Okay, of course. Thank you. Thinking the deal James Earl Jones makes with the kid about coming by once a week to talk baseball was a pretty cool thing. A great turnaround for a kid to go from a scary place to suddenly having a new friend there who wants to chat about your favorite subject. But I'm sure the filmmakers have a few things they'd like to turn around and change. Well, I don't know about the filmmakers, but there's probably some things we would have changed. In fact, we thought they were things we didn't like so much. So let's get into those things and talk about them in the worst segue ever to our
Worst 3.
worst 3 thing. Oh, yes. Now it's my time to shine. Let's start with Daryl this time. What's something you actually didn't like about The Sandlot? By the way, I will say before
Wow.
Daryl,
I thought I was the master interrupter. Stepping up your
this
game,
is
Captain.
Paul's birthday pick for this year. So by all means,
Trash it.
trash it. Yeah, exactly. Okay, go ahead, Joe.
Oh, I'll start with this one because it did kind of come up already. Was the kissing scene?
Is there kissing in this movie?
The pool. The
Yes,
pool
I
scene
know,
with
I
the
know.
lifeguard.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that being a big theater person,
Uh-huh.
consent is like extremely important.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like this was all set up; it was planned, so that wasn't an issue.
I thought this was a documentary. You guys keep spoiling it for me. Gosh.
But just with just the importance of it, like, I mean, obviously on and off the stage, but
Yeah.
like right now, I mean, we're back into the theater, but everything is super consent. Like if it's me putting my hand on your shoulder during a scene, all the way up to kissing, everything is planned and rehearsed, and everybody knows what's going on. So like, I understand like stealing a kiss when you're out on a date or something like that. Like that's one thing, but
Isn't that called stealing first base?
no, just I don't know, maybe I'm old fashioned. Just the way he did it and everything, I didn't like it.
I didn't like it either at all.
Yeah, Squints, you got that? No more of that.
Is that his
But I
name?
think
Squints?
I think that's kind of
Squints.
the point. I mean, you play it for last, but the fact is, everything about what he did was wrong.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And from a 9 or 10 or 11-year-old, I mean, obviously they're not thinking about consent; they're thinking about other things. So,
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
I think the depiction, while the outcome is unjustified, because we can all agree with you, Daryl, that no, consent is always there. I think it from today's eyes, it's definitely an awkward moment, and it's something that it's really challenging to watch something like that. You have to be able to put it in context, not only of when the movie came out, but also the context of who's doing it.
Oh, absolutely. And I know what they were trying to do, but it still just makes you go like,
Right?
really?
Sure.
I mean, seriously, it's so upsetting, guys, that this lifeguard was trained so poorly that she's checking his heart. Obviously, it's beating if he's not drowned.
Right.
And I'm sure she can tell. Well, no, obviously she can't tell because she's a very poor lifeguard that he's actually fine. So it's ridiculous that they just totally besmirch the role of lifeguard in today's community pools.
And
I
it
will not
goes
stand for this.
on and on
and on.
And then the fact that
That's what we're upset about, right, guys?
no, and then the fact that not only did it happen, but then she almost, like, afterward, he always got the smile afterwards. So
Yeah,
it was-
Well,
that's
she
the part I
liked
really
him.
didn't like. Yeah, exactly.
What do you mean? It's a happy ending. Something
This is what I'm
bad
talking
happened,
about.
but it all worked out.
it turned into a happy ending because, like they say, they got married and had like 9 kids at the end of
Right.
the movie.
Which
But-
is
But it's
Which
just
is-
like
oh, go ahead.
in the moment, I don't see any girl being okay with that and giving him the approval after it happened. Like every time he walks by, you got to smile. I'm like, that to
'cause
me is so unrealistic.
Well, that's between Squints and Wendy.
It
But
is,
see, this-
but
this is what I'm talking about. So it's not just disobedient children. It's disobedient children with no consequences. Worse yet, they're rewarded for that disobedience.
It's how the world works sometimes.
sometimes, but
I don't have to like it. And apparently
That's fair.
Daryl didn't either. So thank you, Daryl. Let's go to Patch next. What's something you didn't like?
So the climactic ending with the chase, and I thought was set up really well, but as I have gotten older in my years, I kind of want condensed action sequences, and I thought the set pieces were a little too long for my taste. I can
Very
appreciate what it was doing to set up the whole jet and being able to run that far in his PF flyers, but there's, you can make it a little bit shorter. So yeah,
Oh,
it
absolutely.
wasn't my favorite
Totally. Do you
sequence there.
Did Ferris Bueller came out before this, right?
Yes.
I'm wondering
Yeah.
if they're trying to homage that some or trying to like.
They need to have the same music going though.
So the length of that is, I mean, I haven't, obviously, I could have to look at them side by side. I would imagine they're the same length, but there's enough comedy in the Ferris Bueller sequence where
Yes.
that one point where he stops and he says hello to the girls and stuff like that, where he has, those things are really just playing up his character more. Whereas when you have Benny running through the entire town, the excitement is that he's running through the entire town and he's, the dog's messing up everything. Like
Yeah,
going
I was
to
about to
movie
say the
theaters.
dog jumps through the screen. and-
Yeah. So it's a nice comedic effect, but it feels like a gag that sort of plays itself out after the first 2 or 3 scenes that the dog messes up. It's kind of like in Christmas Vacation, the dog is just completely trashing the house, and you're like, okay, yeah, we know you've trashed the house. Let's stop now. I get a little anxious because
Yes,
my house clean, and,
exactly.
whew, maybe that's a little traumatic moment for me.
There you go. So here's the thing. So guys, I actually thought that Benny was a real character that they had sort of given this backstory to, like it just sort of dramatized his backstory. But if this is just pure like out of whole cloth, why didn't they make him just so fast he outran the dog completely? Like the dog was like nowhere to be seen. I feel like that would have been the way to go. And apparently by your silence, I'll take agreement to my point. Let's go to
Go ahead, you
Paul.
can have it.
Next, did you feel like any parts of this were too long, or did someone else make
Oh
you dislike
yeah,
this?
finally getting to me.
About time, Benny. My claws are going out of style.
All right, so one of the things I didn't like is at the very beginning, you talked about how Benny brought in Smalls. I'm like, but why does he bring him in if he's no good? Like the kid says, like his sister could play better. Like, then bring her in. Why
That's
are
a
you
good point.
bringing
Why
this
not bring
kid in?
bring in sister? Yeah,
this
exactly.
guy, Small, sorry, but at the beginning, you have no business being on the field. That's fine. You can watch, but I don't understand Benny could try to be his friend. You can connect on other things. You don't have to
Yeah.
do baseball.
That's
It
fair.
just didn't make sense to me why there was a constant him trying to bring him on.
And related to that, Paul was one of the things I didn't like, where Benny says to, I think to Smalls, "This is baseball. You gotta stop thinking." And I'm like, yeah, tell that to Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill. You don't think about baseball.
No, they're thinking of that's stats and
Yeah,
numbers.
exactly. You gotta think. You gotta think.
Yeah,
Baseball.
yeah. Don't think. So don't think about putting the glove up to catch it.
Yeah, so I know that's a bit of a ridiculous, or a bit of a long stretch, but I thought that was a little. I get the sentiment of like, there is an element to sports with like going with your gut and just what sort of feels right, but that's, I think, after you've developed a an aptitude for whatever the sport is, not like right at the beginning.
Yeah, I agree with that a little bit. I think part of it was Benny was realizing he was overthinking it.
That's fair. That's fair.
And they kind of play into that with like Small's like bedroom where it's all the sciencey stuff, and he's got the erector set and everything. He's more of the sciencey kid, and he's trying to overanalyze playing a game, and Benny's like, stop overanalyzing it and just have fun.
Yeah,
that's the sentiment I got from the line.
That's fair. I was, but I was, I'm not gonna say more. That's totally fair though, Daryl. That's totally fair. Let's go back to Daryl. What's something else you didn't like about this film?
I had to reach for a few things because I didn't find too much.
Do you need
You're
some
killing
help?
me,
I can help you.
No, I got a couple. It just, for me, the kids being like 9 or 10, I didn't like their cussing.
Yes.
It like, I understand kind of why they did it, but for the age that they were having these kids, in today's society, I might believe it, but in the 60s, was that realistic?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, obviously, I don't know. I'm not nearly old enough for that, but it just it felt out of place.
And my brain's so warped. I was shocked how little cussing there was between them. Like when you watch Goonies and such. But
I don't know. It just, I mean, it wasn't overdone, and I was thankful for that. But it just, I don't know. I didn't think it fit. I didn't think it was needed.
Yeah.
Especially for the kids being as young as they were. So that just kind of rubbed me a little wrong. But it didn't pull me out or nothing. But
okay. That's fair. Patch, was there anything about the script writing or anything like that pulled you out of the movie? Or was there just something else that you found distasteful about it? No, I think, The Sandlot is meant to be that kid perspective. I have to kind of take that as a mindset when I watch it. And so, the length of that last chase scene, I think the whole sequence, again, played for laughs at the carnival ride, just all the vomiting.
Yeah.
It's so there's comedy that appeals to certain people. And so you have like my wife who absolutely loves physical comedy. Like I can listen to Ted Lasso's dialogue all day because it's just great writing. But the moment that somebody trips on screen, my wife loses it because she absolutely loves physical comedy. And so when you look at something like The Sandlot and that scene in particular, that's very specific to an audience, an age group, a demographic, a gender, it's adolescent boys, making fart sounds. That's kind of the thing. Like my son would probably, who's 9 right now, would absolutely just think that's hilariously gross. But the 40-year-old me is like, all right, let's move it along. You've made your point. And again, I think it's where you are in life, where at some point you've got to grow up, and some things just they don't have to be tasteful. They can be tasteless for the sake of that, but the length of them, I think, can be constrained where you get the shock and then you don't have to stay with it. Because at the end of that thing, I was like, oh my gosh, that is just, I mean, you can say it's not realistic because a lot of the stuff in this movie is very hyper realistic in terms of, because it's coming from the imagination of a child. If you've got a voiceover who's recalling this story, I'm pretty sure if this were a real story, that much throw up wouldn't have happened. But the fact is, as a kid, you're going to think like, dude, it got over everything and all these people. So seeing that played out, I think, loses its luster as you get older in terms of the comedy of it. Yeah, I could totally see that. And I felt the same way about a lot of those jokes. It's just like, come on, let's pick up the pace here, Sandlot. But Paul, what was something that you didn't like about this film?
Oh, I
something else
disagree. I thought those were great. Anyway, especially that last line where he burps and says, "Oh, I feel better." Just laughed out loud. Anyway, moving along. Something I didn't like, something that took me out of the movie, because different strokes for different folks, was how fake the Beast looked, and like the paws, and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Like when I saw it in the theater. when it first came out. I don't remember it looking that fake, but watching it now, I guess with adult eyes, and it just looks so fake. I'm like,
I mean, at least it wasn't CG.
no, but couldn't at least they like get closer on the dog's paw rather than like a giant fake looking thing, you know? Or there's ways to do that.
Oh, I'll discuss in a bit. But yeah, that's a totally fair point, Paul. So Daryl, I wonder if you had mentioned something about the stepdad and Smalls's, what's his first name? Stewie? Scott. Yeah. That's,
do you remember any of the names?
Bite me, Paul. Okay. So.
Jeez, Smalls. I suppose you don't even know who the babe is either.
No, the baby. No, of course. I thought you said Bambi. Anyway,
Stop lying. I get you in trouble.
Anyway, I found, and be curious if this made one of your dislikes too as well, Daryl. That something about how he was. I wasn't sure if I was more frustrated with Smalls for not being able to throw the ball and overthink it and just being so like just almost crippled by that, or Dennis Leary's character for just like not really doing anything to teach better. It's just like he just kept doing the same thing over and over again. It's like, okay, well, obviously I need to get closer. Obviously I maybe underhanded. You know, start real close. I mean, it's just. It's just, I know you're not a dad. I know this is your first kid and he's 10 and that's really strange. You have to develop all these things, but it just, I don't know if, I don't imagine you were great when you were first a kid throwing a ball. And so you could sort of empathize in that way. But so Daryl, was that the part you didn't like as well or something else?
Yeah, it was basically that. I mean, like he was like reluctant. Like he's like, yeah, I'll teach him. Just give me some time and blah blah blah. And then just like, yeah, he was repeating himself. It was like, well, just do this, do that, and you could see the difference when Benny was trying to show him like he took something that he could relate to. It's like, have you ever done a paper out? You ever throw that? Think of it like that. It's the same. And he broke it down differently. He didn't.
Yes.
How can he throw a paper but not a ball? That doesn't make sense.
Again, I think he was just overthinking it.
Yeah.
So, but like he took Benny made it relatable. It's like, just because I understand it this way doesn't mean you're going to. So I need to break it down or teach you the way you would learn.
Exactly.
And then just, I mean, you could tell he was kind of trying, but even his attitude after he hits, Smalls catches it and the ball hits him in the eye, and he brings him in, but his whole attitude about it was just like, well, at least he caught it this time or something like that.
Which is like, good.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. He felt very callous to me. Like it felt very callous to me.
Yeah, and I think some of that has to do with the fact that Bill and his relationship with Scott are equally distant.
Yeah,
I mean, and we can't infer that Bill just ignored Scott. I mean, there's a lot that's happened, and the story opens up with Scott's moved to a new town. We assume because his stepfather got a new job. Mom's with the mom. He becomes Captain Stacy. He has to hunt down Spider-Man eventually. So this is his early days. Anyway,
that makes sense.
It's an origin story for Captain Stacy. This is what it is. A long lost son or stepson that he doesn't know. We don't hear about. Anyway, but I look at the relationship this time around, and I'm like you guys. I don't have that relationship with a stepfather, but my wife has a relationship with a stepmother. And so I've being married, I hear these stories about growing up and how it became, you almost have two types of step parents, those that are either overly involved or those that are distant. And I'm not saying that all step parents are that way. I mean, there are definitely some great relationships where step parents come in and they have, as one comedian that I was listening to put it, they have a new lease on their on their marriage, where they, they're leasing these new children. Like they picked up the lease on some
gotcha.
kids. But there's some love to that because of the fact that you have to figure out, okay, you're not this kid's biological dad. You weren't around for the first however long. We don't know how long they've been married.
Yeah.
But the fact is, I think that when you look at Bill, he's trying to find a way. He doesn't know how to connect with Scott.
Yeah.
And I think that by the end, when we see that Scott's got this baseball passion, or not, a semi-passion or a connection, his dad found something to connect with. And so now they're playing catch, which is obviously the quintessential father-son type of activity that you can do. And so I think they both had those kinds of distant traits that they didn't know how to connect with each other. And so it was so great to hear Scott go, Dad, Bill, and you're having that, what do I call him? The same thing with Bill. He's comfortable with work and he is married, and those are the things that he knows.
I thought we were on our dislikes.
We are, but like kind of feeding off that, like you could tell Scott was the nerdy kid, and then his stepdad loved baseball. So to me, when Scott's coming to him and like trying to learn to play catch, you'd think that Dad would latch onto that faster.
Yeah.
Like this is my in with him, and he's almost putting him off. Like,
well, he's busy.
Later. I'm busy.
Yeah.
I'm blessed. I had the dad that was there. I still do. So I mean, that's not the kind of thing my dad would do. So,
right.
Yeah. So,
and again, Daryl, I think that plays into the fact that Bill knows what his comfort level is.
Right.
And while he loved baseball, maybe he, I'm not trying to get into a defend Bill here, but I think there is some element there that he didn't have this way to connect with Scott. And so even when you watch that scene play out, the fact that Scott doesn't know how to catch, I think that throws Bill off. It's like, how do you not know how to catch the ball? Yeah. And that speaks to what you're saying, that he wasn't teaching him. He was really just sort of feeling like a coach at that point, frustrated at the fact that Scott wasn't able to do the basic of things. But the fact is,
that's a good way to think about it.
My son is 9 years old and does not know how to ride a bike. And so I have that hanging over my head of like, do I need to teach him at some point, or is he going to live life not knowing how to ride a bike? It's not easy. It's not easy to catch a ball. It's not easy to do that. And while in the same vein, Benny saying, hold your glove up like this, and he catches it, is unrealistic. I think that in the other end of that, there is a little bit more of hyper realism to Bill being kind of hyper instructive as opposed to being a father. I think it just elevates the fact that they're both really awkward with each other. And that while Scott's kind of extending that olive branch, Bill needs a little bit more comfort level. And I think the ball and his adventure connected him. It's not that he became this great person that could catch a ball. I mean, he still was not a great baseball player, but he understood that world in a way that Bill understood it, and so they could connect in that level.
So they understood that about each other, and like you said, they could connect on that level. What's something you didn't understand, Patch?
Oh, good. We're
why
back to
this
dislikes.
movie, how this movie was made, why this movie was made, anything that you didn't like about it?
Well, with any cast, you're going to have an ensemble of people. The more you get, the less you're going to utilize some folks. And the fact is, I understand that you need 9 people to make a baseball team.
Yeah, you need 9 people.
You need 9 people. Sometimes
to make a Fellowship of the Ring. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
But there were obviously characters that were underutilized. The twins, Tommy and Timmy, I think were their names.
Yeah.
And this is a nitpick at this point, but I think the fact is, when you put an ensemble cast together, I don't want to see wasted cast members. I don't want to see just filler. Just like I don't want to see scenes of a television show being considered filler. Like I want purpose with all of these.
Yeah.
And it's hard, as a writer, you want to make sure that every scene has meaning, that it's pushing the plot along. Same way with casting. Sometimes I feel like Tommy and Timmy were sort of thrown in like, hey, we need 2 more people. Okay. And then let's give them a few lines of dialogue. But if you had taken them out, I don't think.
Well, who else is going to be covered with dust and said, I should have thought of that?
So again, their purpose was to be the recipient of a gag. They
Right.
had really no input into either pushing the story along, creating great dialogue. If you look at any of these other, the other kid, I don't remember his name, with the glasses, the tall kid.
You're right. I was about to say the tall guy. Yeah.
Oh no, the tall one.
So
Yeah.
you've got like 5 or 6 that have really good chemistry. They can live on their own in this world. But again, for the sake of the baseball team, you needed 9. In fact, that was a plot point. You know, we have 9 now that we got Smalls here. So I understand it, but that's kind of a risk you take when you increase your team or your ensemble, that
So
I want to feel like there's some purpose with each one of them besides just filling in a blank.
Instead of Squints adding to the hashtag Me Too, they should have, and being the storyteller, they should have given the storytelling role to some other character we didn't know, or like
Maybe, yeah.
diverse
Yeah,
it out
I mean,
a bit more.
that would have been a way. Give it to the tall kid who's like, and I thought that I was the one that didn't have much to do on the baseball field until I met Smalls.
Right.
Oh, I know, guys. Let's expand this to 3.5 hours. Then we have plenty of time for each character, and they can get a ring, and they can take it to Mount
Mordor.
Doom.
Hey,
I think-
let's do it.
Let me just say this: there was screen time given to every knight in the Holy Grail, and so everybody had great screen time that was introduced there. Okay.
Ouch!
I thought he was talking about Indiana Jones.
I mean that too. The one night that you see.
Every night had screen time. Yeah, there was only
Every
one
night.
in there. So
Yeah.
All
Every night
right.
of the round table.
Speaking of the tragic of tragics, thank you, Patch, for that segue. Let's get into our tragic makers for the Sandlot. I'm just gonna. It's on my chest. I'm gonna get it off my chest, guys. I know you've said. I think Patch has said. Maybe Gerald and Paul, you've said also that this is essentially how kids see the world. This movie is made sort of like from the imagination of kids. But I'm sorry, if you have this kid telling the story in the treehouse, is the black and white sequence,
oh yeah.
and Squints
His-
is telling
his-
the story.
His grandfather or great grandfather. Yeah.
Yeah, whoever, it doesn't matter. He says the beast, the dog is kills, and he likes it. Okay, so why is he just throwing these criminals away and they run away? Why isn't he eating them? Why aren't we seeing the eviscerated carcasses of these criminals? Otherwise, you don't tell me you're
He
killing them.
eats
Well, you
them,
just throw them away.
bone and all,
No,
he said.
he's throwing them across the cars. He's not eating them.
Oh,
he's like,
some-
off launch pads.
Some dogs and cats like to play with their food before they eat it.
No, obviously they're getting away. They're not. They're just fine.
He didn't want them to.
Well, you know what? You should have
This
said
is
they
a
killed them.
kid's imaginative
I don't care.
story.
I'm
Leave
not
it
done.
alone,
I'm not done.
cranky grandpa.
I'm not done. Anyway, so you don't see him eating them or anything. I mean, even I realize it's PG. Fine.
Someone
you
has to
can
live to
hint
tell
at
the
it though.
story.
You can hint at it though, and then there was how in the world do all these kids make all these devices, which are cool? I will give you that, Paul. They're cool devices. How do they make all these in one afternoon? Shenanigans. There's no way they're doing
Look,
that. All these different things.
That
No,
was
it's not going to
one
happen.
afternoon. They had a week.
What? No, that's all one afternoon.
No.
I got
Scotty,
the sense it was one afternoon.
Scotty's dad was gone for a week. So when
I
the final
understand,
thing
but he
failed-
didn't know when he was coming back. I have the sense that it all happened in one afternoon. That's the sense I got. There were no like nighttime transitions. No like, oh, we got to think about a new plan in the morning.
Look.
None of that. It's one afternoon. I swear to goodness, it was.
Scotty is.
I'm
a
not
young,
done. I'm not
listen,
done.
Listen,
One more
Scotty
thing.
is no. Scotty is a young, Tony Stank or Tony. What's his
Wow,
name?
Tony
Iron Man.
Stark, Paul.
Yeah.
Okay, no.
No,
I
because
don't accept
listen, he has like 100 construction sets that he just magically builds to make that thing.
Then he
So-
should have made an Iron Man suit if he was
Well,
going to go to that route.
exactly, but
Anyway,
they're not
so
that
I'm
creative.
almost done. Let me finish. Okay, so they make all these devices in one afternoon, which is ridiculous. And then what is the deal with this glasses kid? Squints, let me whisper every single thing, even though you're way over there, up the treehouse, over on the across the Sandlot. Let me whisper every single thing. Oh, you got it, guys. With the junk.
Oh, you mean when he's on the periscope thing?
Yes.
I was about to say he didn't. Yeah.
He doesn't whisper one line. One time he doesn't whisper.
Hey,
And also,
Francisco.
bonus, how come you don't just turn the vacuums off? Why? Why don't you just turn them off? Oh no, we turn them on. There's no way to turn them off.
Hey,
It
Francisco.
says they glitched.
You're tragic maker. You got it.
That is my tragic maker. Okay. Thank you guys. I'm feeling better now. I'm feeling better. Okay.
Got that off your
So,
chest.
so final reigns. No. Okay. Let's go to Paul next. What's your tragic maker for this film?
Sorry, just laughing at Star Fox's comment in chat. It said that your Southern Baptist is coming out.
Can I get an amen?
Actually, mine is so close to yours, Francisco.
Hallelujah, praise Jesus.
It is. I understand. Look, exactly what Patch was saying. This is a kid's tale. This is like a big fish tale, you know, where things are slightly exaggerated looking back. I understand that, and that's fine. But to the degree of which it goes, like, I think that, like you're saying, some of the set, like I said, there are many creative ways that they try to get the ball out. Stick to 3. You don't need to go into 5 and 6, and you don't need to go into, you know, all these contraptions. Make one of them a big thing, not like
exactly. That'd be
several different
perfect. And
Right.
it's like we got it.
Then that's the exaggeration. I get it.
Yeah.
I also think this was trying to learn from Home Alone, because there are a lot of screaming kids with big eyes that Hollywood thinks is funny. So we're gonna put this, like, look, I was a kid and I hung around these, and we did crazy hijinks, but none of us were screaming that often with our, I mean, we screamed every now and then, but just tone it down. I think if they had just toned it down, keep things here and there exaggerated, fine, but overall tone it down, and I think this could have done way better and been more beloved.
I could see that. Yeah, like, because while I was watching this, I kept thinking, okay, Francisco, you didn't really watch this as a kid, and you saw Goonies as a kid. So think about it in that context. Okay, so what things in Goonies might have been exaggerated? And I feel like Goonies overall was a lot more grounded. All the traps were actual traps. The only thing that was a little, I think I mentioned in our Goonies episode, Data falling into that pit, and the pinchers of power being able to hold him back. It was just totally took me out. That's not going to happen. You're gonna die, Data. I'm sorry.
Pinchers of peril,
but
not power.
It's pinchers of peril. It's not pinchers of power.
Peril.
Either way,
fine.
it's a slinky holding him up that's just not very strong.
Yes, exactly. So, but on the whole, I feel like Goonies it's still fantastical, but I feel like there's a lot more groundedness to it, a lot more believability to it, as opposed to this, which I get. There's sort of things are set in if you're come from the perspective of this is set in the imagination of these kids, like that's why the dog's so big until they actually see the dog.
Right. That's why they cut the giant octopus
But
out.
okay, so but here's the thing: if that dog, it's a real dog, it's not going to be chucking these metal contraptions up and like destroying them and not getting killed in the process. So anyway, I'm sorry, I did my tirade. Paul, you agree?
I don't
with me?
think you're
fantastic.
sorry. You're sorry. Moving on.
Let's go to Daryl next. What was your tragic maker for the Sandlot?
You kind of came to me already, and I had the stepdad, at like the stepdad relationship and his callousness and stuff. Like we kind of touched on that a bit already.
And that was mainly your tragic maker. And sorry about that.
I mean,
okay.
no, that's all right. And the other scene I wasn't a fan of was the kids with the chewing tobacco. I mean,
oh yeah.
like, oh, we're so cool. I mean, like in reality, I think that was realistic, and the fact that because the big leaguers did it, the kids, but. And I get the comedy of it. The kids don't know what they're doing, so they're swallowing, which is why I think they got sick.
Oh,
and being on the ride. First of all,
being on the ride, the tilt-a-whirl, and I assume because the kid they don't go into it, but I assume because the kids don't know what they're doing, they're probably chewing it like bubble gum, and you're not spitting bubble gum,
right?
So I assume these kids are swallowing that stuff, and you probably don't want to do that. So And the fact that they do say afterward, yeah, we swore the stuff off after that, but it's just like, do you really need to put 10-year-olds using chewing tobacco in a movie, whether it's realistic because their heroes do it or not?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you do?
It's a baseball movie. Yes.
So I have, but I'm curious. I have no idea. I've never had chewing tobacco. I have no idea what it tastes like. I've never smoked. Does it taste good though? I mean, I don't know.
I don't know the flavors. I know people who do it, and I know they have to spit it because I don't know. But I assume it's just another way to get their nicotine fix.
Yeah, and that's why I thought was the main reason to have it. But I mean, if they put I didn't get. Let's see. I have this impression that it doesn't taste good, and so why would you? Oh yeah. If I put some in my mouth that didn't taste good, I just would spit it out right away. I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, look at me chewing this stuff that tastes gross. But anyway, okay, that's totally fair though, Gerald. I agree. I didn't care for that scene either. Though Paul apparently that was his classic maker. That's fine.
Yeah,
Patch?
kids chewing tobacco is my classic maker. Not.
Patch, what was your tragic maker for this film? And,
we already went through that. That was the one that I just mentioned. That's okay. You know, I didn't want to interrupt the rant. Oh, Francis.
Wait, so
that's good. That's good radio television right there.
No, but okay. So what was it that? Because remind me.
My two dislikes were the length of the final chase.
Yeah.
The essentially the long spit take of the throwing up with the tobacco, and then the inclusion of characters that didn't really have much purpose outside of being the butt of jokes.
Okay, I don't know how I missed that, but okay.
You can fix that in post.
You eat dog crap for breakfast, geek.
Exactly. Okay. Reminder, Francisco.
I just need that in my office whenever I do something good and give myself my little pat on the back. Yay!
Since we're in Edna mode, Francisco, right now, wake up. So here's what you have to do, Francisco, not Paul. Francisco, you're the one editing this. You have to go back and take the part where Patch is saying his tragic maker about characters not being used to their fullest. Take it and put it after this whole section so that it could fit well. And there we go. So now you've done that. Good job, Francisco.
How you were thinking you wouldn't have thought that?
Thank you, Paul. Okay. Awesome, Patch. Okay, so yeah, I agree. Characters, it would have been nicer if they were more utilized. But now it's time to get back to not our own time. It's time to get to our final rating now that we've entered all our trajectories, if I could speak, into the firing computer. Alice, do you have a firing solution for us?
Firing solution complete. Rating salvo at the ready. On your mark.
All right, guys, time for the moment of truth for The Sandlot. Do we rate it a classic? We'd recommend anyone go see this movie, whether or not you've seen it before. A nostalgic, it's only worth your time to rewatch it if you enjoyed it as a kid or a young adult or in the past at some point. Then it'd be worth your time to revisit it again, relive some of those awesome memories. But if you've never seen it before, leave it alone. Or do we rate it a tragic? It's not worth anyone's time today. If you've never seen it, keep it that way. And if you have seen it and have fond memories of it, don't sully those memories with a rewatch. So let's start with our guests. Let's start with Patch this time. What was your final rating for The Sandlot? You predicted classic. Did it maintain that rating?
Like most meteorologists, I predicted correctly. And I say classic.
All right. Classic from Patch. Even though the Beast, he didn't actually kill anyone.
That's even better.
The kids made all these devices in an afternoon. Are you sure you don't want to knock it down a peg?
One thing that would have perfected it is if it was Jurassic Park. That would
maybe the
especially
last
the
half
first
of it.
third of it.
Exactly. Oh gosh.
I'm sticking with classic.
All right. Daryl, what was your final reign for? I was going to say Jurassic Park for The Sandlot.
It's still a classic.
Still a classic
great movie to rewatch. I mean, I won't watch it over and over and over like some movies, but it's a good one to pull out every now and then. It's fun to sit down and watch.
Totally fair. Paul, you had gone against the grain and chosen nostalgic as your prediction. What did it end up being for you?
It wound up being nostalgic for me. There's a lot of good things, but again, too exaggerated. If you like it, yeah, go ahead and give it a rewatch. And if not, then don't. If you haven't, and if you haven't seen it, you know what? This movie is not really about baseball, even though it's like throughout the whole thing. It's really about the nostalgic feeling of, playing as a kid with other friends. And just so this movie does a good job of portraying that. Mm-hmm. And that's not why I'm keeping it nostalgic, but I just wanted to give this movie its kudos for doing that.
That's fair. I am so torn, guys. I am very, very borderline tragic nostalgic on this. I am. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, like, it'd be very easy for me to say, well, Francisco, you didn't see this growing up, so of course you wouldn't have fond memories of it. But I could see people that did grow up with it having fond memories, so it makes sense that it'd be nostalgic. But I don't want to succumb to just the will of the masses.
Yeah, how would
based
you?
On me. Yeah, me, because this is Francisco's show around now.
Well, we each have our own unique voice.
Exactly.
That's why we're on here.
And I'm just trying to think. In terms of like a quality movie, I feel like this movie does a lot of essentially wasting my time in ways that I don't go to the movies for. And that's not to say that it's a horrible movie or the worst movie ever, like My Python and the Holy Grail, but
Just say it.
If I wasn't gonna, if we weren't covering this movie, I don't think I would have ever seen it again. So I'm gonna rate it tragic.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Good. I'm glad I'm killing you. Maybe that dog should have killed you, all those criminals, but he didn't. So whatever.
Oh, no.
Oh my gosh. But of course, the Retro Rewind podcast with two classics, another tragic.
Yeah!
If you've never seen it, your time today. If you haven't seen it before, definitely check it out. All right, it's time to get back to our own time. Good old 20XX.
20XX?
Comsat online. Receiving incoming transmission.
Feels good to be back, but we wouldn't have been able to travel back to 1993 to begin with if it weren't for our amazing reflux capacitors, namely Jared Holder, Deborah Powers, Brian King, Patrick Hicks. Oh, he's right here.
Woohoo!
LJ Lowry, Chris Cowan, Geek Devotions, The Untold Podcast, James Kennison, Ashley Cronenberg, Patrick Dewson, Kennethan, Redeemed Otaku, That's Our Baba, Josh Adams, D. Tungsten, Andy Lewis, Jeff, The Dapper Man Reviews, Tony from the Retro Jays, Mr. Lost, Daryl Hafner, oh, you're here too, Rosie, and in addition to 7 other awesome patrons as well. Thank you all so much for keeping the gigawatts coming. And if you want to help us keep flying for as little as $1 a month and get bonus content for your generosity, head over to retrorewindpodcast.com/support to start.
This stream is sponsored by PaulJPowers.com.
And while we're thanking people, we also want to give a big baseball hug to Daryl Hafner and Patrick Patch Hicks for supporting us with their thoughts on The Sandlot tonight. Let's go in alphabetical order, starting with Daryl. How can people find you online, or is there anything cool you got going on?
You can find me on Facebook. I'm on the Retro page, and I think I'm friends with a few members of the Retro community just on my personal page, which is cool. But I'm actually in the middle of directing my first play.
What?
So finally get to do it. It was delayed will be almost a full 2 years. It'll be 23 months. Yeah, thanks to COVID, it was supposed to go up June of 2020, and it'll go up. In the end, it'll go up May of 2022.
All right.
Okay. Wow.
You've had 2 years to perfect it.
Yeah, not quite, because I haven't been meeting with my people. I had to recast half my people had to be
geez.
recast, and it actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise.
Oh,
Because
awesome.
I got to my like 2 leading ladies, the ladies that were playing my Corey and my Betsy, were able to come back, and those were like
good.
2 of the parts that I really didn't want to replace.
Yeah.
And I had like half my people come back, but a lot of the ones that couldn't were the really young ones. And while I have 0 issues with that, because of who I had like 12-year-olds playing Nazi guards a couple years ago.
Really?
And it just like the cast I have now fits the show a lot better.
Oh, good.
So
Awesome.
I mean, it ended up working out for the better, but I was
isn't
devastated at the time. But
this isn't Jojo Rabbit then.
no, this is called The Hiding Place. It's a true story, World War II. It's a Holocaust story.
Right.
But it focuses on the miracles and stuff that happened even within the darkness of the times. It's a very faith-based story.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
So it's a lot of fun. I don't know if any of you are from Michigan in the Port Huron area, but we opened May 6th. And
What year?
2022.
Okay.
And enterstageright.org if you want tickets.
All right.
Fantastic. Thank you, Daryl.
Yeah. And thank you, Patrick Patch Hicks, for coming and sharing your reviews. How can people find you online? Is there anything cool you got going on?
I am on Twitter mainly. You can find me at Shoeless Patch, ShoeLesspatch. I also co-host the Feelin' Film podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Feelin' Film. We also have a website, feelinfilm.com, that has all of our good stuff like articles and mainly podcast episodes, because that's what we do. And we really just take a look at movies from an emotional standpoint, really kind of straying away from the technical stuff, or at least getting less critical and more emotional conversations. So a lot of what you're going to hear from us, at least especially in the more recent months, this last year, are movies that we're picking that we've really enjoyed or that we really enjoy. So you're going to get a good conversation, a positive conversation. And so come join that conversation, because we're going to have good stuff to say about most of the movies that we watch. And so if you like that kind of stuff, that's where we're at.
And do I recall that you and Aaron have covered The Sandlot? I feel like you have, or am I misremembering that?
Man, I think we have. I know we've covered Field of Dreams. I'll have to look at our feed to see.
I think that's what they're doing right now.
Oh yeah, they're looking.
I'm seeing them both like clicking on their computers. I'm like,
episode 168.
168. There it is. Yeah.
Beat ya.
Oh, yeah. So check out our thoughts on that more in extensive detail. Episode 168, feelinfilm.com.
But you'll miss out on all the awesome tirades of this episode.
If you want negativity, come join Francisco.
Oh my gosh.
We call him Negative Nancy over here.
Oh my word.
All right, Nancy, go for it.
But thank you so much, Patch. Thank you so much, Daryl. Thank you, Paul. And thank you to all you Ringwinders, new or old, for another fun voyage.
You're welcome. And I am PaulJPowers.com. You can find all my social media links at PaulJPowers.com.
And you can find me, Francisco Ruiz, on Discord for show announcements or just to say hi. Join us there at RetroRewindPodcast.com/Discord.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box, a curated collection of podcasts, videos, and articles that will provide you a balanced meal of content. You will find culture celebrated for its past and future, satirized for its extremes, explored in study, and created a new in-story. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
And as Nathan just said, we are now part of Culture Box Media Network. Find all the shows unpacking truth through story, comedy, and geekery at culturebox.media. With that, Captain, we are on final approach to home base. We'll see if the Salvo Authority is there waiting for us.
Thank you, XO. And thank you all for listening. We pray you are more joyful today than when you first hit play. But like a Pokemon, we got to catch you all for Harry and the Hendersons, our next episode of the Retro Rewind podcast.
Retro Rewind mission complete. Proceed to nav point Omega and return to base.
Hey, Francisco, how long do you think we'll be continuing to travel through this space-time?
Sorry, Paul, you said that a little too early. Can you go again?
Sure. We want to edit that in post? Here we go, Edna 5. Do you want to since we are in Edna, do you want to change up the script?
Look, how long do you think we'll travel through the space-time continuum? Let me figure out what I'm going to say so I'm not just saying something.
Thank you, Star Fox.
Yeah, thank you, Star Fox, and then all the people commenting on the hiding place. That was kind of cool.
Thank you.
Yes, it is a autobiography by Corey Ten Boom.
Nice.
And then it was made into a black and white movie that I think you can find on Netflix. I don't know if there's another one, but they are all the same. So, and that's what this play is from, and it was actually approved by the Ten Boom Foundation. This script was, so it's actually pretty darn accurate.
All right, cool.
So,
All right, I'm right.
All right.
I'm ready, Paul.
So, Francisco, how long do you think we'll be traveling through... natural, Paul. Natural. So, Captain, how long do you think we'll be traveling through the space-time continuum?
Oh, let's see. Square of 45. Carry the...
That sounds like it'll go on for...
Forever.
That's cool, because it's a fun shindig.
Then I have got a show for you.
Ship like this, be with you to the day you die.
Retro.
Because it's a death trap.
The pod of rewind.
Pretty cunning, don't you think?
They were robbed of time, young Indy made them poor. Burnt out on dullness, what was it all for? With Firefly now, what reviews will they find? The hero of time, Retro of Rewind.
We gotta go to the crappy town where I'm a hero.
Yes, with Head and Hands from Paul, we are reviewing the 4th episode of Firefly, named Shindig. Paul will give us some of the technicals from this episode as we journey through all 13 episodes of Firefly to our Christmas episode this year of the movie Serenity.
Sure. Episode 4, titled Shindig, was released November 1st in the year 2002. Do you want to give us a one-sentence synopsis of the plot?
Yes. I do want to give you that once I think of it.
Did you watch it?
Yes, I watched it. The crew of Serenity have to go and get a job from Badger, who we met in the opening pilot, which you didn't know if you're watching this on the TV.
I thought he looked familiar.
Yes. So they go get a job, but it's to touch base with this social, the snob guy.
One sentence, Francisco.
I know, right? Curly Ray is getting a job but there's a fight between Mal and one of Inara's clients, because again, she's a companion, like a concubine.
Wow,
or not,
the run-on
sentence
is just continuing.
Okay, I can't do one sentence, okay? Show me, Paul.
You went through all Young Indiana Jones, 22 of them, or however many there were, with one sentence. You can't go through 4 Fireflies?
No, because these are actually complex stories that can't be broken down so easily. Yeah.
Call it. Break it
Okay.
down.
Mal gets into a fight with one of Inara's clients, but wins it, so gets a contract because of that, a job because of it.
I love my captain.
Thanks, Kaylee. Okay. So let's go around, guys. And first, before we go around and share one thing we like, one thing we don't like, who our favorite character was, and if we'd continue watching the show.
You
Daryl-
did that really well. You summed that up in one sentence.
Thanks. Daryl and Patch, have you both seen Firefly before, or is this your first time watching the show?
First time.
First time for
Alright.
Daryl. Okay. And Patch, how about you?
My cat's in the way. Sorry. He's gonna stare at me until I tell the truth. And so here's the truth. Yes, I have seen it once through, but my confession is that I did not watch the episode in question or in conversation for tonight. So I will sit back and be a spectator.
But you have seen this episode before. So if you remember anything from it.
No, I mean, I've seen the series once.
Yeah. So
it was
you
several
must have
years ago.
seen this episode.
So my like is Nathan Fillion. My dislike is the fact that it was canceled after one season. I mean, there we go. Are we good?
We'll come back to you later, Patch.
Okay, there we go. Back to spectating.
All right. So let's go through one thing we liked about this episode. I'm going to start with Paul this time.
I was really taken back during the dancing scene between Mal and Anira and how much dialogue they had, but it still seemed very natural with the dancing. Just the way they were able to pull that off, which is not easy to do, and especially when watching trying to people do that in other movies and scenes. But it seemed really engaging and natural. So I thought they did a really great job in that.
Awesome. How about you, Daryl? What's something that you thought was the best part of this episode?
For me, it was also at the party, but I liked the way the older gentleman come up and basically defended Kaylee, and then later as Kaylee is talking technicals of the ship and everything, and she's surrounded because she's. I'll say actually got a personality and she's interesting, and so everybody's focused on her, and all the normal socialite, the rich girls are just they're being ignored because the parties, and they're not. They could talk dresses and all this kind of stuff, but most gentlemen are going to find that quite boring. Exactly. So I love the fact that she was the center of attention for the right reasons.
Exactly. Yeah, the rest had to go back to their TikToks. Yeah. The thing I liked...
I like TikTok. He's the best part of that movie.
Oh my gosh, Paul. This isn't Return to Oz.
Oh, sorry.
The thing I loved most about this episode was all of Mal's one-liners, like, if you need it, and the A-man in here will give a use of their sword. A use of what? And forgiveness is the mark of a great man. Stab. Guess I'm just a good man. Stab. Well, I'm all right.
He was a jerk through most of this film. That being included. But it was funny there.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. He's an enjoyable character for me. I like sort of like Patch is about to say, or did say already, with Nathan Fillion being his favorite part. I totally agree. He was my favorite part of this episode. But let's talk about now the things we didn't like so much. And let's see. Let's start with me. I felt like it's funny that we were talking about. Some of you mentioned, or I think it was Paul even that mentioned that some of the characters in the Sandlot weren't very well used.
Patch.
Oh, Patch said that?
This is where you come in, right? They were underutilized.
Affirmative. That's exactly what I was thinking about right then.
And that's exactly what I meant, not Paul, Patch. See, you both start with P's, so I got confused. That was the problem.
Close enough.
Yeah. I felt like Jane, Book, Simon, and River, all pretty much everyone but Mal, Inara, and
Dang it! River was my favorite part. I take back the dancing. When she came out talking like the guy, that was the most entertaining to me.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
and I like that it wasn't like they weren't seen at all, but I just found their part of the show just a lot less interesting.
Yeah.
So that was my tragic maker for it.
It's hard to write for an ensemble.
Indeed, though, I feel like Firefly pulls it off on the whole very well. Gerald, what was
Except
something
this one
that you didn't like?
It's a classic, like, TV show stereotype, but just the high society, I'll call them, stuck up pricks.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
just like, oh, your dress is so pretty, but it looks like it was bought in a store, and just like,
yeah, like the Mean Girl vibe almost.
Yeah, the two-faced Mean Girl. I mean, I think it's overdone in my opinion. You see it a lot in movies, and even
well, they're everywhere.
They are, but even the Inara's, I'll call them date for lack of a better term. I paid for her, so I own her for tonight, and it's just it's overdone, and just the way he played it up that much, it just that just rubbed me the wrong way. Just the way he's grabbing her, it's just like, she's my property for tonight. And just like, no.
Yeah, you have to do it subtly. Like, say things like, this stream is sponsored by pauljpowers.com.
Yeah, that's subtle. Exactly. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, Paul, what was what wasn't
unsettling?
Unsettling, sure, about this that you didn't like it?
That first opening fight in the bar was so awful.
Oh, with the pool cue and him.
Well, there was he like hits somebody with the chair, and it's from a side view, and you can see the chair not hitting the actor. If you're gonna do that,
really,
switch the angle so it looks like it's hitting the actor.
Oh,
and then like when the guy gets at the end gets thrown into the bar mirror, it's kind of like, I think he was on a wire, and then for some reason when he hit the bar, he went faster into the mirror behind the bar. Rather than physics would say, well, if you hit something, you're going to slow down before you hit the mirror behind the bar. And it's just
it probably was on a wire. Yeah, I could see
that some of that was okay, but it was just some of those scenes looked very amateurish and took me way out.
So the stunts weren't as well done as they could have been.
Yeah, or the camera angles weren't quite right or whatever.
And Patch, what didn't you like about Shindig again?
What is this Shindig you speak of?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so guys, what character did we feel like we connected with the most? I mean, I'm sort of jumped the gun. You could probably guess that Mal was the character I liked the most in this episode, Nathan Fillion's character. Daryl, what was your favorite character, or the one you connected with the most in this episode?
I'll be honest, I binged all 4 episodes this evening. So overall, and this is my first time through, I'm actually really liking Kaylee.
Oh yeah, Kaylee's a great
Kaylee
one.
is like, I like Nathan Fillion. Like I watched, like I was mentioning to you guys earlier, I just rewatched Castle.
Yes.
I watched like the first 3 seasons of his new show, The Rookie, where he's like the old guy cop, whatever.
Yep.
But I definitely am liking Kaylee a lot more in this one than I am. Mal is cool, but I definitely like Kaylee's character a lot better. So she would be my favorite.
How about you, Paul?
Captain, you mentioned you like the captain in this one, Mal, in this episode, for his humor. Although, like you said, underutilized, really enjoyed Wash's humor in this.
Yes, absolutely.
So he came in not being a jerk, and he had some good lines here and there that was really uplifting to the story.
Totally agree. Yeah. How about you, Patch?
Wash is always going to be my favorite guy. He stands out. I just like Alan Tudyk a lot as a
good answer. Good answer.
Oh, sure. Agree with Paul. Take Paul's side.
This is one of those things, harkening back to our discussion in the Sandlot. Just this is a good ensemble cast. A TV series, you get the chance to flesh out all these characters, and what I remember from the series, and particularly from the first few episodes, is he really stands out as a great, I guess, co-pilot. Just manning the ship. The fact that he's married, I think, is great. There's this great dynamic between him and his wife.
Yeah,
and he's just a lot of fun. He is Alan Tudyk in this
in space,
in space, right? Right. This is not A Knight's Tale in space, but he's got some of that. I was waiting for hello, it's a long, but I know that wasn't going to come out. But it was only after A Knight's Tale that I experienced Firefly, and so I got that kind of primer going into his character. And
wait, he's not British? What?
I'll plug Resident Alien as well. He's great in that as well, a sci-fi original series that if you have a chance to check it out, it's in its second season. It's really good.
Okay, awesome. Very, very cool. All right, guys, then that leaves, after watching this episode, would you want to continue watching the show based on this one? For me, absolutely. I enjoyed this one a lot much more than Bushwhacked. I like that it was like, oh, how do we get this job? We need to keep flying. Oh, you have to deal with all these things to just get a job. And I like that at the end it ended up being cattle, and that's what they're transporting. You think it's going to be drugs or something like that. No, it's just cattle. Daryl, would you keep watching after this one?
I mean, I'll probably end up.
He's on the fence.
I mean, right now, I don't think I would like do it again next week. I'll probably end up finishing out the season, but it's not real high on my list right now. I mean, it's a fun show, but there's other stuff I'd probably watch first.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Congrats, Francisco. You finally got a real honest to true goodness answer on that question.
I feel like other people answer
no,
honestly.
but I mean his is like even more like because he started it and he got up to this episode.
Oh yeah, and hasn't seen it before. Yes, right. I see what you're saying. Yes. But how about you, Paul?
For me, I would barely continue. I like the characters enough in this episode that they're engaging some of them that I'd be willing to give it another shot in that. Barely, but yeah.
Okay.
I'm kind of wanting. They haven't done much with her yet, which irritates me a little bit. I want more with River, and I assume she gets more in the later stuff.
No, she got canceled.
So I mean, like that character, I feel like is, especially right now, is beyond underutilized.
Well,
yeah.
I know they want some mystery with her, like that's part of the thing, but
they end up doing more with her as a character, I'd say, in the movie.
Right.
There is some stuff with her through the series, but yeah, it was too short-lived to
was
really
the movie
explore that.
Before or after the series?
After.
It's after.
So
it's like the final episode.
Exactly.
Think of it as the final episode, and then
Okay.
And Patch, how about you? After watching this and doing your homework, like you said you would.
I would. This conversation's got me wanting to watch it, although there's a lot of television that's on my plate already for varying reasons. It's one that I'll definitely, when I have a free week, I'll binge that. But yeah, I would definitely watch it. I don't remember any episode in this series that I disliked. It's got a great kind of formula to it that I think. Again, I'm with most people. It definitely was canceled ahead of its time, and there was a lot there, but they packed a lot of good stuff in it.
Awesome, guys.
So yes, I would keep watching it.
Very good. Well, thank you so much to Daryl and Patch and Paul, and for myself, we bid you all have a shiny one, guys.
You're killing me, Smalls.
The other one, Paul.
Oh, I like that one.
Don't let the space bugs fight.
That one?
Yes, that one.
All right.
Oh, no! You're killing me, Smalls.
Paul going rampant with the soundboard. Okay, guys.
Yeah!
Oh my gosh. Do any of you need to take a break before we start our spiritual speculation?
I'll
I
be
got
right.
my drink.
Okay, go for it.
Well, if you're going to take one, I'm going to take a break.
All right, good. Everyone take a break. Okay, let's see.
Count on it, pea-drinking crap face. Yeah!
Thank you very much, Bob, for that. Such a good episode. Been a while since I saw this episode, but I remember liking the ending a lot. Oh, you meant The Firefly was such a good episode. Got it. Okay. I thought you were talking about us. I'm like, oh, thanks. Ashley's heading to bed. Thank you all for the great episode. No problem, Ashley. Have a good night's sleep.
Yeah, I thought the sword fight was fun. I mean,
yes,
because I do a lot of stage combat, and we do stuff with rapiers and long swords, so that that was fun to watch. Definitely different.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought they did that part pretty well. Although Nathan Fillion's sword breaking on one strike was total crap. I think.
What?
I don't think a sword would break that easily.
Maybe it was made out of tin. You don't know.
No, because the other guy was supposed to be fighting honorably, so they'd give him a legitimate sword.
That's fair. That's a good point. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have no idea of the structures of blades, but couldn't it be like maybe that was a very old sword and used a lot?
Nah, not likely. But I mean, I know there's ways to strike swords to get them to break. Like, so rapiers are not meant for rapiers are meant for edge on edge strikes. Broadswords. Oh shoot, am I mixing that up? No, they are meant for. I'm just trying to remember the strikes because for stage combat we call them 5s or 6s for rapiers because there's 5 targets when you're striking. So it's like 1 is like the one leg, 2 is the other leg, 3 is the between the shoulder and the elbow. 4 is the other side, 5 is the head, and then 6 is a lunge.
Yeah, okay.
Are your basic movements, and then the parries are obviously to block all those.
Yeah.
But you're turning the blade to hit edge on edge. And if you hit side on side, it's not good for the swords.
Got it. You get the whole. Yeah.
But yeah, though they were using rapiers. I think for that.
I think so.
Yeah, that sounds right. Because for the theater, we got rapiers, foils, which is more like 3 Musketeers.
Yeah.
The super thin ones. And then we got broadswords.
Which I never really got foils. Are those just for thrusts? Or do they they cut?
They can cut. They're a pure speed weapon.
Okay.
Broadswords and rapiers, you can put some force behind them and stuff. Rapier or foils are just speed.
Okay.
Like tight cuts, get in between, get into the chainmail, get into those tight spots. They're meant for speed. They're not breaking anything. They're not breaking bones like a broadsword. Even if broadswords were not sharp. Like,
oh really?
I mean, they had an edge, but not the razor edge, because as soon as you hit them, they're going to get dented up and nasty and useless.
Gosh, Paul.
They were a little more of a blunted edge.
Oh, okay.
And they did more force damage.
Okay, cool. I had no idea. And now you know. And knowing's half the battle. G.I. Joe. Okay, guys. So let's see. I think it was Patch had a spiritual speculation. I had one, and then Paul and Daryl were gonna play it by ear. Am I remembering right?
Yeah. And
I'm not tired. You're tired. Okay.
Yeah.
Then
it's not like it's midnight here, and I've been up since 5:30.
We'll try to go fast.
You're good. I'm teasing.
Go even faster.
You
Francisco.
play ball like a girl.
That's great. Welcome, Reflux Capacitors, to another spiritual speculation where we take a look at the spiritual themes that the movies and games we cover on the podcast prompt us to think about. Tonight's episode, or spiritual speculation, is coupled with the review we did on the movie The Sandlot. So check that out at retrorewindpodcast.com/247 for that review. Sometimes the humor carries over, so just go watch the review first. Just do it. In fact, you probably did already. So let's continue with the discussion. But first, let's go around and say who we are, what our faith life was growing up, and what we currently believe now. My name is Francisco. I was raised Presbyterian and currently a non-denominational Protestant Christian. Let's go to Patch next.
Yes, I was raised as a Southern Baptist. I now practice independence in the non-denominational field.
An indie, fellow indie. Daryl.
I grew up in the AG or Pentecostal, and I'm technically Church of God, but that's also a Pentecostal.
Mm-hmm.
They're very similar, so
okay,
Pentecostal.
Very cool, nice. And Paul.
I grew up, growing
yeah,
up.
We all grow up. Yeah.
Well, some more than others. And and I lost my dad's treasured baseball that was signed by Babe Ruth, and I didn't know how to get it back, so I got in touch with my friends. We tried all these things, couldn't happen. And knowing that my dad was going to kill me, I gave my life over to Jesus Christ, and I trust him for my salvation.
That's great, Paul. Awesome. Fantastic. Wow. Okay, guys. So let's get into spiritual things that this movie prompted for you to think about. Let's start with Patch. What did the Sandlot sort of prompt for you, spiritually speaking?
Well, I looked at one of the big themes of the movie summed up in, heroes get remembered, legends never die. And the movie doesn't really deliberately answer that question. What does it mean to be a hero versus a legend? Right. And if you read into it, you can see, okay, heroes have moments that they're remembered for, but legends have their stories sometimes baked in reality, sometimes baked in fantasy that lead to something that is pretty unbelievable. Yeah. In fact, just as an example, I was in a running accident back in like 2014, I think. Mm-hmm. And, the story goes that I was running, and as I was crossing the street, a van came around a corner and hit me. And that's what happened. But as I tell the story more jokingly, that van turns into a semi, that turned into a bus, that turned into an 18-wheeler, and that it chased me down and ran,
Yeah, double-decker bus. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. So all the way from Britain, came all the way over from Britain to hit me. Right.
Yeah. Did you run through the screen and it follow you through the movie screen?
Yeah. It barked
did
at me too.
Did have a siren on top going dun 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 dun.
It did not, but there were a bunch of British people going, "Get out of the way, you bloody runner!" So I was thinking a lot about that phrase and what it means, when we define what a hero is versus a legend, and putting it in spiritual context. If you think about the world we live in, there are a lot of heroic things. We live in a world of very much instant news, and so I follow this Twitter account called Dudes Posting Their W's, which I think is really great. It's these little stories about dudes posting their wins, about a guy who rescues a cat from getting run over, or different things like that.
Sounds like bros being bros.
Well, yeah, it's probably like that. Yeah, I don't know about that.
It's probably run by Gorham Bombay. It goes for the W every time.
Classic movie there. I'm gonna say it right now. Anyway, but then I started thinking about the world of spirituality and how really the summary of all this is that when we think about our spiritual life, we have to think in terms of legendary things that are going to last. Stories that are told in terms of not only not being forgotten, but also being impactful. So you think of how Paul writes his letters, and the only time he quotes Jesus is when he's giving the Lord's Supper in 1 Corinthians. But Paul as an apostle is an echo of who Jesus was. My pastor always says that Jesus helps him understand Paul more, and Paul helps him understand Jesus more, because they really are, not in terms of what they did. Jesus obviously making the ultimate sacrifice by dying for our sins and raising himself to life 3 days later. Paul, I think, is a great translation of what is life like after Christ, the living, human Christ that was on earth. And so we think of the story of our faith. That's legendary because it's been impactful over and over and over again. The fact that we can spiritually trace our ancestral roots all the way back to Abraham, all the way back to Adam and Eve, and how we can look at that as very ethereal because, you know, if I try to go, you know, hunt down my ancestors, I probably could physically go back to, okay, how is my great grandfather connected in some way to my great 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 grandfather, who eventually goes back to a European person, who eventually goes back to whatever. So yes, there's that possibility, but the fact is, in the spiritual line of succession, Jesus, who came from the line of Jesse, and then we came from the line of Jesus in terms of our spiritual family. So when I think about legends, I don't necessarily think about making our mark in such an impactful way that it's going to change the world. Jesus already did that. But the story that he tells through his life and through the life of his disciples and through the life of Paul, who then tells that story that eventually gets to us, and we tell our story that's echoed from the past. That's kind of how I feel like our spiritual story is very much legendary, and that will never die.
That reminds me of Hebrews 11, where it talks about the heroes of the faith.
And yeah,
so you're saying that no, they're more than heroes; they're legendary.
What I'm saying is that their impact is legendary. Like the acts that a person does are heroic. So someone can save the life of a person, but what if that life of the person that was saved ends up impacting someone else, and then someone else paying it forward? Essentially, if you're going to use a mainstream ideology, the fact is there's legend to that. And when we think of legend, we think of, you know, Arthurian legends or the stories of old.
But I think of this Tom Cruise movie.
Or Will Smith being legend. He is legend. But the truth is, legends are those things that still have an echo now. Whereas someone who's a hero, that act in and of itself could dissipate. And again, in the world that we live in right now, you have there's always that group of people that would say, you know what's happening in Ukraine? You see people with their Ukrainian flags in their Twitter bio. How long is it going to be before they jump onto the next thing? You know, and there's that kind of conversation. And nothing against those who do that, but it could speak to the fact that we're going to latch onto things that feel heroic, that feel purposeful. But in the world of instant news, instant stories, you know, what's the story going to be 3 months from now that we're going to latch onto in some ways? And so I think when it comes to our faith, that has to be something that we not only latch onto, but that faith story impacts others, and that story continues to carry on, that it's going to be the thing that we put in our spiritual Twitter bio that stays there. It's not something that's going to just fade out because, oh, the next big thing is happening. So there's nothing wrong with heroes, but I think that sentiment, remembering something versus something not dying, there's a significance there. And I think our faith doesn't die because the impact of Jesus as the big hero, his impact is legendary. So that's kind of what I was getting at.
Is it I'm trying to make sure I understand you as accurately as possible, Patch.
Good luck.
Thank you, Star Fox. Good luck. Just remind me of the beginning of those stages.
Hey, anyway. Einstein, I'm on your side.
Thanks. Wow, Falco. Anyway, is it kind of similar to like heroes? Like you hear a story, like a news story about like firefighter saves a cat from burning building or a dog from burning building. And that's like, oh, that's a great story. Oh man, his name was Awesome Bob. Awesome Bob saved that dog. That's fantastic. And so he's a hero. But to the owner of that dog, and let's say maybe it's a little kid, and that story of your dog was saved by the firefighter Awesome Bob, that inspires him to actually want to, you know what, I want to save pets too. I want to save lives, and inspires him and builds up this persona of this person that saved life in his head, and now he wants to become a firefighter, or she wants to become a firefighter. And so it's almost like on some level it's a nice, oh, that's a really great thing that person did. But when it inspires you to live out, to almost be called up into living better, then that's when it becomes legendary. It's impactful on you in that way. Is that kind of what you're saying, or am I totally not getting what you're saying?
Yeah, I think if you were to word it another way, it would be that heroes are connected to people, whereas legends are connected to story. And so the impact that that particular person had on an individual is not going to be something that's impactful to the person that they impact like 3 generations later. So let's say you have someone who saved your life and they were a cop and you decided to become a cop. And so you become a cop and you do these things and you build this relationship with some guys that you arrest, and then they change their lives. And because they change their lives, they're now pastors or they're now doing something for inner city youth. So have you been impactful? Absolutely you have. But the story that you tell is the fact that it started with one person and their through line affected you, that affected somebody else, that affected somebody else. And the fact is both can exist. They're not in conflict with each other. They're not mutually, they can be mutually exclusive. They're not conflicted, but being a hero can be a one-time deal. I can do something heroic and it might give somebody like, oh, wow, did you see what he did? And then 2 weeks later, it's like, okay, cool. But if let's take it to the spiritual level. If Jesus had died and
he did
and rose again,
he did,
but none of our sin was affected by that. What if the miracle was that he raised himself from the dead? Not that he conquered sin and death, but that he just raised himself from the dead. Well, that's a miracle.
It would be just another one of his many miracles.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so while I don't feel the impact of someone feeding 5,000 men, while I don't feel the impact of someone who raises Lazarus from the dead, I do feel the impact of the fact that every time I fall into sin, I can freely ask forgiveness of that. And I think that's sort of, it's not a one-to-one. Again, this is spiritual speculation. So when we think about our spiritual walk, it is coming from a story that to probably a mainstream audience or to a secular audience is very much legendary. Oh yeah, Jesus was he was a man whose name and whose story was just exalted to just exuberant heights. And we're like, no, he was God. And so that's where the difference is, that Jesus wasn't a legend and his story isn't legend, but the impact that he has and what legends have, that impact are similar. I think they have similar paths that they have that kind of impact on people that never knew that person or never knew. And Paul's a great example. You know, he never walked with Jesus. He was the first apostle that did not get a chance to actually sit down and say, hey, can I share a meal with you, Jesus? He wasn't part of those 12. So he came along, and like us, I think that's why I connect with him so much, is because he was like, I'm like him, that I never knew the physical Jesus, but the intimacy that he had because of the road to Damascus, I never had one of those moments, but I do understand the fact that there is spiritual connection that doesn't have to have physical connection with it. So,
okay. I thank you for clearing that up. So then why was Benny a legend? Because it seems like he was just a hero.
Because what he did, the impact that he had, his legend is that if you watch that too long sequence of him running through the neighborhood, I would imagine that half that stuff didn't happen. I would imagine he went around the block and he came back and knocked the fence over at most.
Yeah.
But when Smalls recounts the story, because this is in his mind, this kid mind, he sees Benny, because of the impact that Benny had on his life, he exalts him to a level that's very much legendary. And it's reinforced in how fast he is playing for the Dodgers later on. Like, there's no doubt that he's a fast individual, but did the PF Flyers really make him faster? No. There's a fantastical avenue or a fantastical approach to the story that Smalls is saying. And so while you can remember Benny as a hero, the impact that he had being able to conquer the beast in whatever way, again, it was probably him running around the block and then eventually getting into the yard. But all those other things, you could never account for that. I don't think Smalls would ever say, yeah, there was a news report that said the dog ran through the screen and all this stuff. No, all that stuff was just way over the top. Very much a legend.
And the bakers tripped and spilled their own cake.
Exactly. Show me documentation that all that happened, and I'll tell you it's real.
But okay, then I guess here's the thing, though. Then it sounds like it's the only person he's a legendary to is to Smalls. He's not, his legend's not growing to other people that never met him. It's just sort of.
But what did Smalls end up becoming? A sportscaster, right?
Yeah.
So his impact and his relationship with Benny never stopped. And so who knows what kind of impact he had as a sportscaster. He grew up loving baseball. Maybe he befriended more people. Maybe the Sandlot, while we see it, kind of went away. Maybe there was a new crew of people that Smalls ended up becoming the next Benny. Maybe
no
not
one's going to listen to Smalls with that dumb hat with a bill a mile long.
Speaking
no
of
one's
which, this is not the time or place, but I just kind of realized, Francisco, that you have a hat on and a button-up collared shirt. Are you purposely dressed up as Scotty Smalls?
No.
It's his new Halloween outfit. It's his new Halloween outfit.
Okay.
I'm not. I was just like, I could have done other Snapchat filters that like had LA Dodger like hats, but I was like, I just have a baseball hat. Why not just wear my own? So that's why I'm wearing this. So no, I'm not trying to look like Scott Smalls. This dumb Bill hat that goes out forever. Anyway,
so
killing me, Smalls.
Yeah. So I would word it like this: true stories start out as news, and then with the passage of time, they become history as histories. And this is, I'm reading this from a Quora answer for heroes versus legends. So I'm not going to take full credit for this, but it says that they're free from fact checking essentially. So this is not a news report. This is Smalls recounting the story as he experienced it, not as he, as information. And that's the danger of something becoming legend, because you could
exaggerate
you could elevate someone or an event beyond what it is, and then we get into what we call fake news or misinformation. And again, it can be played for laughs, but it can also be dangerous. But in the case of our spiritual walk, the hope and faith that we have is that this is all true, that none of this is elevated to a place where it's unbelievable. And if it is unbelievable, it takes faith to believe that all this actually happened. So in that regard,
I was about to ask, how do we keep from thinking of Jesus as just a legend, as just a nice story,
exaggerated truth,
exaggerated,
yeah. Is that rhetorical, or are you actually asking me?
I'm asking you. Yeah, how do we do that?
Fact check Jesus, bro.
.com. Factcheckjesus.com.
Here's
So
the
I think
best
it comes
part.
down.
Yeah,
I would say it comes down to reading scripture.
Yeah.
And then, in all honesty, just reading other sources, historical documents that line up. Francisco, you and I for a while, we were reading about the, I don't remember the name of the book.
World of Genesis.
Lost World of Genesis. And we were just hanging out in the creation part. And one of the things that the author did was he cross-referenced it to other stories that sort of coincided or corresponded in similar ways. So the historical accounts of Jesus are proven to be true. Now, his spiritual things, the miracles, those things like that. I mean, I can't personally, I don't know a lot about, how do you fact check that kind of stuff, but the miracles aren't what we put our faith in. We put our faith in Jesus and what he did. And there is an account historically of the disciples seeing Jesus after he rose from the dead and visited them. Thomas's story is fantastic. How he said, I need to see it. I mean, it's like us, I need to see proof. And Jesus said, here. And what did Thomas do? He got down on his knees and he said, my Lord and my God, I now believe. And John, of course, says, blessed are those who have seen and yet believe. And then he reverses it and said, he said, you have seen and now you believe. Blessed are those who believe and seen that. So I think for us, there's a significant element of faith, not to just believe in Jesus' miracles or the life that he lived, but also believe in that significant thing that not only did he die and raise himself from the dead, but he did it by conquering death and sin. And that's kind of the component that really takes an avenue of faith, is what kind of separates us from non-Christians, is we believe that sin exists. And other, non-believers don't. They just think, oh, I'm good or I'm bad. Well, what standard do you have? And that goes back to that standard of Christ and how scripture lays that out. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I think the simple answer, the summary of that is that it really starts with belief in the fact that, just like Paul, we don't have to see to believe, but we are blessed because we believe. And Jesus, he kind of reveals himself to us in those specific ways, whether it's Damascus or through scripture or through, moments with friends and family and things like that. So
yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Patch.
He's legendary.
Paul or Daryl, would you answer or
I would
answer that question any differently, or?
I mean, Answer it differently, no. I saw a recent story that almost, because he was talking about like things you do now can have impacts in the future, and it was just a cool. Somebody shared it to the hiding place page because it started in the World War II. So a woman hid a child during World War II, and then like now that little girl's granddaughters just took in refugees from Ukraine who were like the great granddaughters of the woman that like took in her grandma or something like that.
Really? Wow.
So yeah, that's what it was. So yeah, she was saved by this family, and then her both of their granddaughters now they're taking in. So it came full circle.
Wow, that's crazy.
So it just like. So like yeah, she did these things years ago, never knowing what impact it would have in the future. So
sounds legendary.
Exactly. Like I mean, it almost feels like a stretch, but that's what came to mind when he was talking about that.
Sure.
Awesome. Cool, guys. Then let's go on to the next topic, which is just this. I feel like we've harped on this before, so we don't have to spend a lot of time on it. Thanks, Paul. But the quote, which pretty much goes right after the one you had mentioned, Patch, about there are heroes and legends. Babe Ruth says right after that, follow your heart, kid. You'll never go wrong.
Wah, wah.
Wah, wah, wah. So if you've been listening to these for any length of time, you know that that's
a trigger.
It's a trigger. Because I always forget the verse, but one of the classic verses is the heart is deceitful above all things. I think it's like Ezekiel or Isaiah or one of those. And I'm not going to, there is
Jeremiah 17:9.
Yeah, that's what I said, Jeremiah. Now the problem is, I think that's where I will hedge a little bit, as I've just done more studying, what have you. What, Paul?
I said, what does a bush or a tree have to do with this?
The burning bush, Paul. That's what it has to do with
What do you mean?
God, that's what.
Oh,
the Bible.
Answer to your question is God. Okay.
Okay, let me go. So, I will say that if you're an unrepentant person, someone who isn't following after God and trying to do their best to live and have God as their Lord, Jesus as their Lord and Savior, I feel like it is very easy to fall into just follow your heart, and that's not a good way to live your life. That you need your head and your heart. You can't just follow your heart. I think there are a lot of instances where Christ followers, that's sort of what you're left with is your heart, and God desires our hearts. God's called us to protect our hearts, because there is something very important about them. It's not just like
Are you saying Christ followers don't use their brain?
No, they need to. They do both. They need to do both. I'm trying to say, like, in the past, I almost like swung the pendulum so far that you should never follow your heart as a Christian. But now I'm like starting to settle in the middle where you need to follow your head and your heart. They're both important. They're both things you need to.
I disagree. The robot in me disagrees with you. Both of them does. Well, have you seen the movie? It reminds me of the movie Metropolis. Way back, when was that?
I've never seen it.
Or it's black and white,
something like that. Yeah.
But basically, it talks about how to succeed. You need both the heart and the mind to work together to accomplish an achieving goal or an impactful goal. Is that what you're getting at?
I would say that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's one of the. I think when you're, I forget. There's a movie that talks about it.
A Metropolis.
No, where someone's trying to capture hearts and minds. When you're trying to capture hearts and minds.
Oh, that's the other Indiana Jones movie where he.
Oh my gosh. The point is that there is an element of both of those things. Working in unison is probably the most powerful when someone can sort of live in unity in both those places, I think that's where you sort of can be your fullest self in a way.
Hello, Commissioner Gordon. Not right
Damn,
now.
I don't know how that happened, seriously. Because I have it on airplane mode. Anyway, I'm being
Commissioner
lost.
Gordon's on an airplane?
Oh my gosh. What I'm trying to say is, I don't think that's just on the face of it. Don't follow just your heart, kid, because a sociopath or a psychopath that just loves to kill people is following their heart when they kill people, and that's not going wrong. You are going wrong when that's happening. That's what I'm trying to say. But I'm also trying to say that sometimes there are times where you need to follow your heart, but you shouldn't just divorce that from ever following your head also. That's all I was trying to say. Are you happy now, Paul? No, you're not,
sir.
But Daryl and Patch, anything you want to add to that? Because this is a conversation Paul and I have had previously. But
Ad nauseum or at nauseum.
No, I mean, I agree. I think you need both. Because, I mean,
Otherwise
if you
die.
have just one or the other, you get into dangerous extremes either way.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
I think as we get older, I speak for myself only because it's.
No, I want you to speak for me too, Patch. Come on.
All right, I'm going to speak for half of the crew here.
Patch, I
sir.
paid for you. You have to speak for me tonight.
I will speak for those that wish to be spoken for after hearing what I have to say. And if you want to denounce this, you can absolutely do
Oh,
it.
that's a good point. I may want my money back.
But the fact is, we go through seasons as we grow up. When I think about my life as a teenager, I had a spiritual perspective that was very different. 10 years later, after I graduated from college and started living as an adult, and then 10 years later after being married and having a son. And so my spiritual perspective changes, not necessarily in conflict, but it grows. And so to that point, I think there's a purity and I guess I won't call it a compromise, but there's a balance, as you mentioned, Daryl, of being able to have discernment when it comes to how you speak to someone, discernment in who you spend time with. For instance, my wife and I, we have a budding relationship with another couple whose son plays on the same soccer team as ours, and we have a ton of fun. Like we just hanging out with them. They're very much not followers of Jesus. I mean, they are they openly they drink and they have language, and it's interesting because I look at my son's friend who's 9 years old, and I'm like, I default to the fact that, oh yeah, they must be Christians, but they're probably just worldly here and there. Well, no, these guys are they're a blend. They have these good hearts, and at the same time, they have no qualms about some of the things that they say and do. And so we have we're in conflict with that. We want to hang out with them. We want to be friends with them. But we have to have discernment. Is that going to be beneficial for our son? And is this an opportunity for us to really make an impact and give them, another couple that they can hang out with consistently without necessarily being in their face about, hey, you know what? You probably shouldn't do that. I mean, we don't have that kind of relationship with them, but those are the kinds of things that maybe like as a 25-year-old, I've been like, we don't want to hang out with those people because, they're going to be seriously impactful in a negative way for us. Whereas now, the influence, I won't say it becomes less black and white, but I think with the growth that we have as Christians and understanding that the world is imperfect, the world that God created is imperfect because of our sin.
Amen.
The people that we are impacted by, we have to be able to have discernment and know when to say, okay, this is uncomfortable for us, or this is something that we can work through and be tolerant of. I know that word tolerant is very much kind of it can be a trigger for a lot of people, but the fact is, how it really kind of raises the question, how do you genuinely love people that are not like you? And that's the fundamental question that Jesus asks.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
he answers it by saying, because God loved us first. So
Yeah,
it's going to be different. Go ahead, Daryl.
Sorry, I thought you were done.
No, you're good. I'm going to ramble forever. So thanks for
Okay,
stopping
no,
me.
like I'm thinking, like
I have something to say. No, go ahead,
like
Daryl.
I have kind of the same, I'll say, mentality. Like you've got your wife, you and your wife have this new couple friend, and like I'm heavily involved in the theater, and most of them are of the opposite views of me. Not all of them, but a lot of them are. And like there's certain things I'll go and do with them, and then there's other things I won't, and they know this. And to me, I think that's where we need to be able, the head and the heart. You need those relationships so that, but you also have to be different in those relationships. They have to see the difference so that when issues come up, one, they come to you, hopefully, and ask, like, you dealt with this situation and I liked the way you handled it. I'm dealing with it now, and I'm not. What do you have that I don't? But you need to build those relationships now so that, one, you can speak into their life and they'll listen. And two, you need to have those relationships so they can see what you have and they don't. And
absolutely,
like you need that line. Like, I remember this was years ago now, like when I was early in the theater, one of the casts decided they wanted to, both the men and women wanted to go to a gentleman's club. Just as a cast after the show, because I thought it'd be just, oh, this
Team
is
bonding.
kind of, yeah, it wasn't even that. I forget. They're just like, oh, let's just go. And it for them, it wasn't anything like, I don't know exactly what their mindsets was, but I'm just like, no, I'm not going to participate in that.
Yeah.
But I have no issue going out to the local bar restaurant after show and having a drink. I have no problem doing that. But there's just, you got to know what is your line. What is, you need discernment in that I'm not going to participate in everything. They'll know I'm not, and they'll know why, but I'm willing to do these things so that I can build the relationship with them. Because if you don't have the relationship, then you can never give them, you can never witness.
Speak into their lives, or
right.
Witness,
Because
there's a level of endorsement that they're going to have, a level of credibility, and that comes with spending time. And we are totally about spending time with them because they're fun people. We laugh with them, and then Daryl, you make a good point. We've just got to be honest about where our limits are. Because they asked us, said, "Do you guys like to go out and have fun?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're early people. 8 o'clock is bedtime for us, or whatever." It was like, "Yeah." I said, we're not heavy drinkers by any means. And they said, "Well, do you like?" And I said, I like karaoke." And they're like, "Oh yeah, we could do that." And so we can. It's those types of things where you're finding common ground,
right?
That we're not completely cut off either because of or in spite of our faith base. I mean, it could be that my wife, for instance, is not one to get up in front of a bunch of people and sing into a microphone to a Carly Rae Jepsen song. I can do that. I mean, it's a lot of fun for me. But so it's those levels of comfort that we're trying to find with them. And they have a pool, so I think we're going to start making plans. Like on Fridays, she's going to go over and hang out with the wife of this family for a few hours. And I'm like, that's great. Carson can hang out with his buddy, and they can be friends. And so we're building common ground. It's just, it would be easy for us to just dive in and not have any kind of boundaries and to just sort of compromise and compromise and compromise. So, to take that out, that broad stroke, I think that for me is what it would look like in order to, have that balance of following your head, following your, having discernment and being able to say, this is definitely something that's going to compromise my faith. It's going to compromise who I am as a human being, as a believer specifically. And I need to be okay, be confident, and with speaking truth in love, saying, no, thank you. That's not for me.
Yeah. And
That's good.
that'd be perfect, like the head and the heart. If you're only speaking with your heart, you're just going to keep saying yes so that you can build that relationship.
Mhm.
And you're just
Yep.
going to give in to everything, and then your witness is gone. And if you're only thinking with your head, then you're never going to reach anybody, because it's like, oh, I can only do these things. Well, then you're only hanging out with your church friends because they're the only one. And then you're never a witness because, yes, you can speak into your church friends' lives. They need that too, but you're never going to expand or bring new people in if you're not in the world too.
Mm-hmm. So I think to put a nice bow on this conversation and to end it, I think what Patch needs to do is tell this group of friends and to go to center left field, and you're going to hit a ball into their mitt. Just raise up their mitt, hit a ball right into it, and then everything will work out.
Yeah. Then that ball you're hitting is their new faith.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
And then I'm going to let a beast swallow it and get slobber all over it because, faith is messy.
That works.
Let's just push the analogy further.
And then the beast came out of the sea and vomited up onto the okay. Anyway, thank you all so much for being a part of this conversation. Thank you, Reflex Pastors, for supporting this content. We hopefully this inspired you to think more deeply about your faith, or if you have ask other questions, what have you. But for me, for Daryl, for Patch, and for Paul, we bid you all shalom.
That means peace.
You and your baby face. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, I know it's late for everyone. I have to myself get up early tomorrow, so I'm going to just cut it here. let me end the stream. Bye, everyone. Thank you all so much.
Smalls?
I know I forgot about that part of ending the stream. Thank you, Bobo, by the way, for the heart is deceitful, but so is the Babe Ruth story, which is a lousy film. Second Opinions, 1412. Thanks, Bobo. Night, everyone. Good night, Bobo.
Good night, Bobo.
And here is your stream face.
Oh, no!